Hello there, everyone, and welcome to the first ever Christians in Comics and Animation Tales from the Inside. We are talking to a massive audience that we're not usually
Just
so
a few.
far. If you are part of the comic clan, part of the Comics in the Cross community, you already know who I am. You already know who my co-host Nitro over there is. Never know what way to point.
Yeah,
Still don't know
you got
what
it
point.
right.
Been doing this for a year and a half.
Just point at the
don't know
window.
over that way, him. If you know who we are, you're used to seeing us at this time, but we are also streaming live on Terminus Media's Facebook page and Terminus Media's YouTube. So, hello and welcome on in Terminus Multiverse. Glad to have you with us for this absolutely amazing panel and opportunity. And a massive thank you to Dr. Bell and to Terminus Media for asking us to come in and do this. If you don't know who we are, my name is Cross. That's my co-host Nitro. We are together, Comics at the Cross, the greatest streamers you have never heard of. And we are basically two dudes who love Jesus and love comics and love having conversations about it. So this is, I'm not going to lie, I'm trying not to like fanboy and geek out today. I am trying so hard and I'm really
It's right
struggling
under the
with
surface, though. I'm going to be straight up. It's right there.
This is a massive opportunity. We have some amazing guests here today, and thank you so much for everyone coming in. Chat is like popping off over there. We've got people that are so excited for today, just like we are. So without further ado, let me introduce some of our amazing guests. I'm going to start up at our top corner, up here, with an amazing animator who I do not have time to go through this man's full biography of what he has done. Some of his highlights, though, are he is known best as the director of the 1990 animated Mulan movie, co-director on the Christmas movie Arthur Christmas, has worked on Walking with Dinosaurs, has worked with Ardham Entertainment on a number of projects, and most recently with the Jesus Film Project. Mr. Barry Cook, thank you so much for joining us today, Barry. It is such a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks.
And then we have obviously Dr. Baron Bell, who's a longtime supporter of our stream, professor of art and design at Liberty University and George Fox University. He's worked on his first book in 2001, Cobalt, Warrior Angel, and has since then came out with Dominion, Fall of the House of Saul, which we are super pumped about. So welcome, Dr. Bell.
Thank you very much.
Next
And
time
then-
again. Do you want to take on Daniel as well?
Yeah,
They're kind of a duo. Like I've like
Yeah, they are a duo, the dynamic duo.
Just bone.
We have Daniel Hancock. Daniel is
There we
a
go.
I'm glad it's not just me.
There we
The
go.
directions are so
Just
lost.
point at the
Crazy.
window. I'm going to keep saying point at the window. Daniel is a director and a playwright and a screenwriter. He founded Bible Actors Production. He's created a full cast audio drama, End of Darkness. He's also worked on Samson Rise and Dominion, Fall of the House of Saul as well. And he's currently working as a screenwriter and script doctor for several projects in radio, television, and animation. So welcome, Daniel. Thank you for coming, man.
Glad to be here. Thanks.
And then sitting just above me is a man who is known pretty much within the big two companies of comic books of Marvel and DC. If you can think of a DC character and name them, there is a good chance at some point in his career this man has drawn them and has put pen to paper for it. Mr. Sergio Cariello, also known as a man who put together the Action Bible, which is, it kind of blows my mind. It was a book that was on sale while I was a youth pastor, and I remember being like a youth leader and seeing all of our youth carrying the Action Bible. So it's such an honor and opportunity to get to sit down with such an amazing creator who is actually behind that, and I've seen his work actually out in the wild in such a massive way. So thank you so much, Sergio, for coming and joining us today. It's such a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Pleasure to be here.
And then we also have Daryl Peninton and Matt Baker joining us from Australia. So
The Aussie dynamic duo.
Huge shout out to you guys for waking up so early. Daryl is a storyboard artist on a number of different studios, starting his career at DisneyToon Studios. Him and Matt have collaborated on a couple of books, Big Bible Challenge, and most recently Samson Rise, which tells the real life story of Samson, basically the Bible superhero. Let's be straight up. So welcome, Daryl. Thank you, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and then Matt, he's an artist and an illustrator. Obviously, again, working with DisneyToon Studios. He's freelanced and done a lot of traditional art in his free time. He actually won an award for both the portraiture and the People's Choice sections in the 2017 Newcastle Art Prize for a charcoal portrait he did, which looks awesome, by the way.
Thank you.
Him and Daryl have worked on a couple projects, obviously, and he enjoys doing digital charcoal ink in his spare time. So, again, welcome to everyone. Thank you for coming today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
Thanks
I
for
don't know if
having
any
us.
of y'all have got the chat up, but the chat is popping off here with so many people on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook all saying thank you for doing the panel today. Thank you for coming along. Kale Nelson saying here with his 5 incredible kids watching it. Co-op Trio, this is so hype. Aaron Wisner, looking good, guys. Greetings, one. Emil Francis Flores, good morning. It's 2 a.m. in Manila now, so thank you so much. We've
Hey,
got people
Emil.
tuning in from all over to hang out with us today. Before we delve into some questions, though, I am going to go ahead and do something very special and do our first giveaway of the day. We have a number of giveaways that are taking place today. All of these amazing creators that are above me have put forward some amazing things for us to give away to you, the audience. If you have not signed up for that yet, then there is a link at terminusmedia.com/events where you can go ahead and sign up. This is still an opportunity. This is it. You can get in for the very first giveaway. If you haven't already, just go sign up at that page right now. I will quickly throw you in, and we have a decision wheel where we are going to pick our first winner. So I'll give you one moment to do that. And just for people getting for that as well, I do want to also do a massive shout out to our other guest who is not here at the moment, Mr. Mitch Brightweiser, who I know is obviously at the front of advertising. Some of you are probably wondering where he is. So Mitch is actually in a pretty remote location right now. So he is not here to kick us off today, but we are hoping he is going to join us as this goes on. We do want to preface there is a possibility he might not make it today. Just depending how that connection goes, but we are going to do everything we can to get him on today, and if not, we'll do whatever we can to get him back on at another point. All right, let's see if anyone else. Oh, we actually do. We've got a bunch of people getting their names in. Let me quickly add them. So we have over 60 names on this wheel at the moment.
Nice.
Fucking heck, here we go. Okay, I'm starting to put names on the wheel, and they're all coming in fast and furious now. All right,
Can I put my name on the wheel?
All right, I'm cutting it off. That's it. That's the last one I'm putting on. You can get in for the other ones, but this first prize, we've got our giveaway wheel. This is for a copy of Dominion Fall of the House Assault Volume 1. And our winner is Jamie Arthur. Let me make a note of that.
We should have like a applause or something. Woo!
Yeah, I don't have a sound effect for applause. I need something for it. But to Jamie Arthur, who has signed up, thank you so much for entering. You are the winner of the Minion Fall of the House Assault Volume 1. Thank you,
Nice.
Mark, in the chat. Just writing applause. All right. So I just realized I better write these down or I'm going to end up for forgetting certain people. All right. So congratulations, Jamie. And guys, if you still want to end with some of the amazing prizes we've got to give away today, get your name down there. We have an amazing giveaway. We've got more Dominion. We've got some Samson Rise giveaway. I've signed copies of that. We have signed copies of Mulan and Arthur Christmas from Barry. And we have original artwork from Sergio Cariello, as well as a signed action Bible. And a couple of giveaway packages from Mitch. Which we'll still be giving away today, regardless of Mitch, if he's able to make it or not. We will still be giving those away. He still wants to give them away to our amazing audience. So.
By the way, can I mention that Mitch has an amazing track record with he did a lot of the Captain America comics with Marvel,
Yes.
a lot of other comics as well. But he has his own wonderful comic book company called Allegiance Arts. And it does these really cool, almost kind of like Golden Age era feeling books. And so, yeah, man, we definitely want to give them a real shout out. And if you can post their link somewhere for people to see, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely throw that up for people.
Family friendly, by the way. Very all ages family friendly.
Absolutely. But yeah, but wanted to get that out of the road just to do an introduction for. Let me pull this up for the first giveaway. But as we said, we've got an amazing panel here today. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for all joining us here for this today.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, thank you for coming. And how are you all doing today? How are you all feeling today? Are you all excited for what's to come? I have never seen so many nervous faces in my life.
Man, listen, I can't believe that my box is right next to Barry Cook's. I mean, I'm not worthy to have my box next to Barry.
No.
But yeah, and a lot of you guys, there's a lot of connections here. Do you guys all kind of know each other? We were kind of talking before the stream started, but a lot of you kind of know each other, have connections and relationships. It's pretty cool that you've got those connections here in the panel. That's awesome.
I think that's the only reason I'm included in this panel is because I know all of the people here somewhat. Just a little.
Daniel's the link.
I'm the link. Yep.
I've got to say though, that's not a bad Rolodex to have. If this is the people that you've got in it, that's pretty phenomenal. So we kind of decided what we wanted to do for today is we're going to take advantage of having all of you amazing creators with us, and we're going to kick off with actually a Q&A section to start this, rather than waiting to the end to when, you know, people are getting a bit tired, a bit worn down, to when the Aussies eventually pass out because it's like early hours of the morning for them. We're going to get you all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and get in for some questions and just some discussion time with you all. So we do have some questions that were sent in from the audience during the sign-up for the giveaways. But anyone who is listening on any of the chats, go ahead and throw your questions into chat if you've got questions for them. We do have some questions here as well, so we'll start going through that.
Let's do it.
I just want to shout out my R2D2 for life. Just got the Saints from Allegiance Arts yesterday. So yes, that's one of the amazing projects from Mitch that he's doing for Allegiance is the Saints, and he's just started putting them out. So let me start off with the one question then, just to kind of get the ball rolling. What and or who were some of your biggest influences and heroes growing up? You know, like if you get into animation or you get into comics, there's generally something that spurs that on. What were some of the things that inspired you to do it? What were some of the things that made you want to get into it and some of your heroes in it? And that's open to everyone. So
a lot of them are in the panel for me, so that'll be my quick answer to you get in here.
Okay, no, that's a cop-out answer.
Yeah, I was going to say Barry Cook, Sergio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there we go.
Mine had to be the Warner Brothers cartoons.
Yeah.
The old Warner Brothers cartoons and all that stuff that Maurice Noble directed, you know, and I'm fascinated. And I also love the Hanna-Barbera Saturday morning, like Huckleberry Hound was a big influence on me. He was the first character I ever saw on a colored television set. So it was just burned into my skull. I'm like, what? You know, so from then on, I was like, what else can I do?
So Barry, did you always were you drawing ever since you were little?
Yeah, since we were very tiny. My dad was a fine artist, a painter, and a portrait artist, and he really taught us. He gave us a great art education, which that's awesome. In public schools in the United States, you do not get a great art education.
No.
But we were able to get a really good art education at home with him, and so we learned to sculpt and to silk screen and to draw, and to print and to block print and lino cut and everything.
You guys went into the deep end.
Yeah, we just
that's
loved
awesome.
it. And then
that's awesome.
When it came to I want to make movies, very encouraging. You know, so for me, it was an encouraging childhood in terms of the arts. You know, it's just, hey, you know, go for it. Your dad's an artist. He's nutty enough to try this road. Go for it. You know, follow along.
Yeah, I'm also with Barry. The Warner Brothers cartoons, definitely. Chuck Jones, the classic Disney movies, the Nine Old Men. They were huge influences. And then a little bit later, the Marvel comics, Joe Kubert and his sons Adam and Andy. They were pretty huge, I think, for me. And then as the years went on, you know, a lot more influences come and go. Matt Baker was a huge influence for me as well. You laugh, but it's true.
I actually remember the the Disney's Robin Hood is probably the earliest cartoon that I can remember watching, and that was a huge impact on me. I still love that story and the whole concept of it. And you mentioned Hanna-Barbera. I actually grew up watching the Hanna-Barbera Bible cartoons, and I'm sure that definitely influenced my, venture into doing Bible stories myself. Anybody ever see those? Any of you guys see the Hanna-Barbera
I don't think
ones?
so.
Oh,
I didn't
really?
know those
I
existed.
didn't even
No,
know
yeah,
that.
they like fought to get them made too. They worked hard at
Jeez.
that. I read about the story behind it and everything. Great series.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
didn't even know
13
that was
of
a
them.
thing. I'll be completely honest. I had no idea.
Yeah, no, check them out.
I'll need to. Kind of following on from that, actually, I want to just a good chance to pull it in for at least 3 of our creators here. We've got Co-op Tree over on Twitch is asking, what is it like? What was it like working for Disney? Because some of you guys, like, especially when you're talking about the influence you had from some of these older cartoons and some of the Disney movies and Warner Brothers and different things, what was it like getting to work with Disney? Obviously, that's a slightly different experience working at a different studio and stuff for, Daryl and Matt. But what was it like?
For me, the first movie I worked on there was Tron, the live action, the first Tron as a visual effects animator, and a few of the 9 old men were still around. Mostly mentoring, but a lot of them would come in a couple of days a week. I tell everyone I worked for Disney 22 years. 20 years were phenomenal. I would pop out of the bed like a piece of toast and go as fast as I could to the studio and didn't want to come home. I mean, I loved it so much.
Yeah.
And also too, I would say on my first day in the studio, you realize, because when you're a kid and growing up, it's like in high school, you're the best artist in your high school. When you walk through Disney's door, you are the bottom of the barrel. And I knew I was the worst artist in the whole place. And you're just like, wow. And giants are all around you, But even the guys your own age that are so much better than you are at drawing and concept stuff. But so it was phenomenal. I just loved it. And I just loved working in an environment where you're always encouraged to do your very best work.
Yeah.
Nothing lower than that does. Your very best is all we're asking. So that was sort of cool. And that's where it was for me in feature animation there.
Yeah.
Wow.
I agree with Barry on a lot of those things. Like, I just remember walking through the door on my first day on the job and just being so excited, like just feeling like I'd arrived, and also just feeling so incredibly intimidated because they're like, it was art on the walls that was just blowing my mind. And the foyer at DisneyToon Studios in Sydney had all these Mickey Mouses up on the wall, all these tiny little Mickey Mouses that are like about that big. And then you actually had to finger scan to get into the actual art area. I think part of the reason they did that was because people were like just ducking in off the street and like stealing art. So it kind of felt, it just finger scanning in for the morning just made you kind of feel like, I'm going into some sort of secret, ultra special area right now. But yeah, definitely going from high school, I was the only person in my whole year that was really someone that was into drawing. So I almost felt isolated really in my high school years being someone that was into comics and animation. And then just being surrounded by 200 plus people that were all, inspiring each other was just, it was a dream job. It was just, I loved it so much. And just some amazing, funny, inspirational people, guys like, racing remote control cars down the hallways and things like that. And some of the shenanigans that people would get up to was just, a fun environment.
Yeah. I can certainly identify with Barry when he said, in his circles, in his school, or wherever he was the best drawer, and then walk through the doors and everybody else is better than you. And it was very intimidating. And there were many times when I actually had to think to myself, did they send out the wrong job application? Did it get to the wrong person? But I grew up absolutely loving Peter Pan. I think I've shared with Daniel and Matt before.
That's my favorite feature too.
The original feature, and I had the Golden Book as a young kid. And I used to love that Golden Book, and I'd try to copy the pages out of it. And every time there was a dress-up thing at school or wherever, I was always Peter Pan. So when we first got to the studio, just after we finished our training, they threw us on Return to Neverland, which was Peter Pan, the sequel. And it was actually a feature that went to cinema. And I can remember sitting there many times, it's still clear to me now, drawing Peter Pan or one of the characters, and I'm thinking, how did I get here? How did my life end up here? Loving Peter Pan this whole time, like, and now working on the sequel. And it was, a dream come true is just such a phrase that it's underrated. Like, that was a dream come true, literally.
So you guys were talking about being really good going into Disney and then feeling like you're the bottom of the barrel when you get in.
Yeah.
Like, you said there's some sort of training program when you get in. Is there any sort of like mentorship once you get in to kind of like help you along in your career?
Well, I think for me, I think I was much earlier getting in, and the way I got in, nobody else in the world has ever gotten in that way. I didn't go through any training program, and nobody knew I was there for a while. This kind of thing, weird things.
Were you one of those guys that snuck in off the street, Barry? Is that?
No, not exactly.
Somebody left the door open.
Yeah, not exactly. But at that time, all the artists who were hired through feature animation, they had to spend, I think it was 60 days in the mailroom delivering mail to the rest of the studio. Okay. Even if you were, hired on as an assistant animator, you couldn't walk in as an animator back then. But I didn't go through that, but a lot of people did, and that was a way for you to get to know everyone on the lot, in every department, and just sort of get to know who people were and where they were. But yeah, they sort of made you start at the bottom. I was an independent contractor, sort of coming in on I was a temporary hire on Tron. It was meant to be a 6-month gig, and ended up staying there 22 years. So.
Wow.
That's awesome.
When Daz and I started, it was a 6-month traineeship to start with, and in our I guess flock, there was 10 of us to start with. Was it Daz?
12, I think.
12. Yeah. Okay. And it was I don't know. It was a little bit like playing Survivor or something like that, because every few weeks or so, someone would kind of get called into the office, and then they'd come out and go, "Oh, I didn't make it," and they'd be off the island. And so it was kind of 6 months of a little bit of really being excited, learning, and just loving being there. But then there was still that little element of, am I going to be here by the end of the 6 months, or am I going to be voted off the island or something? So yeah, it was interesting. Like, I think 6 or 7 of us ended up making it out of the initial 12. And then there were opportunities after that. Like, we started as in-betweeners. So for those who don't know what an in-betweener is, it's basically someone who gets the key animation from the animator, and then it's been cleaned up by the cleanup artist. At least that's how we did it at our studio. And then the in-betweener draws the drawings in between those keys that the animators designated as in-between drawings. So that's how we were doing that for, like, Return to Neverland and Jungle Book 2.
Yeah,
and then
I was going to say, as far as in-betweeners go, in the animation hierarchy, they're the bottom rung of the ladder. However, they're the actual drawings that you see on the screen, the physical drawings.
Yeah.
So you kind of make it back that way.
That's not a bad way to make it out of there. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So we both ended up as cleanup artists, basically just cleaning up the rough animation keys. And yeah, it was really good.
Which is a lot harder than it sounds. The cleanup artist, their job is also not only to make it nice and neat, but to keep everything on model. Now, when you're working with animators that just disregard model and they're looking for action and posing, then the cleanup artist job is very tough. Yeah, but very rewarding.
And every now and then they'd call everybody from the studio in to just watch the latest, clips, that had been finished, and it was really exciting to like you might be a bit sort of worn out some weeks from hitting your quota. You had to hit a quota, so that could be demanding. And then everybody would get in and watch the latest rushes and see what everybody had been doing, and be amazed at some other people's animation and things like that. And it'd just be, you'd get that excitement back again, and you'd get refreshed, and you'd remember why you were doing it and all that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, it was really quite exciting.
You guys mentioned the 9 Old Men a couple times, and there's something about, not discounting the newer Disney animated films or anything like that, but there's something about the animation from those older movies. Like, specifically, I remember Sleeping Beauty, specifically, the care that they took in animating just general movement from the characters. It's crazy. And then, you know, watching some of the behind the scenes on some of the Disney movies like Lion King and stuff like that, and watching how they studied, you know, real animals and catching keyframes of the animals, and they would just sit for hours and study that. It's extremely interesting.
Oh,
absolutely.
Well, when we were doing the Jungle Book sequel, we had to. I was on the team that was doing some Shere Khan as well as some vultures and things like that, and we were looking at Milk Carl's Shere Khan animation from the original Jungle Book, and just
that's crazy.
Just being blown away.
It's nuts.
What's amazing is, when you consider that the 9 Old Men, they didn't have all our animators today have the 9 Old Men as influences, and can learn from their work, but they had no one to learn from, and yet they were, in my opinion, my humble opinion, still, I don't know, there's something magical about their work. Where today there's great animation, but it just doesn't have that magic, I think, that the 9 Old Men had. And that's no disrespect to any animators.
Hey, Daryl and Matt and Barry, for those who are, you know, way newer in generation, could you distill who the 9 Old Men were in relation to animation in Disney?
Well, there's a bit of a political side to it that people don't understand, because there are also great and magical animators like Bill Tytla and Art Babbitt, who did not become 2 of the 9 Old Men. And the reason they weren't is because during a labor strike in around 1940, the 9 animators who remained loyal to Disney became the 9 Old Men. And those who walked out on strike, Disney was just like, you can work for me, but you're not going to be my guys. And he put the 9 guys forward as the guys, and basically, you know, made them all millionaires and so forth and so on. So there's a political story behind it. They were all great animators, but they weren't just the 9 greatest. There were probably at least 9 others just as great, but they were on the side of the labor union, and that's what happened back in the day. So
they were like the forefathers of Disney, basically.
Sure, yeah, and they were the forefathers of feature and animation, and how that works, and really character performance. I mean, you hear Andreas talk about, a lot of people talk about a great character animator as an actor, just like a great actor, and really bringing that performance side of the art form to the moment of the story as a character. And that was, I think, the big difference. I mean, that was the big leap between rubber hose animation and just being silly on screen, and sort of getting inside the character's head, and now suddenly delivering a performance, but as a drawing or as a series of drawings. And it is a very magical thing. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to move up forward to some other questions. We've got some other questions coming in from people. Got one here from Brian Cam over on YouTube. Said, I have a daughter who will be starting high school soon. Very interested in potential career in art, comics, animation. Any advice for her with respect to education or other general advice?
If we can, like University. Come on to Liberty. We got a great art program.
There you go. Hear it from man himself.
Not because I'm biased, of course, but you know.
Yeah, not biased.
Hey, we know a guy there.
Not biased in the least.
I'd love to hear what Sergio has to say about this one. I would be interested in how I've never been a good enough artist to be a comic artist. I don't know human anatomy well, but how did you get into where you are, and what was your background education?
Well, I was born in Brazil, and but we loved I loved the Disney animation as well as a kid. I loved it. All the comics also, but along with Disney, I loved Will Eisner's The Spirit.
Yeah.
He was a huge influence on me, and put together with a famous Brazilian artist that does still alive, Mauricio de Souza. So my drawings as a kid was a mixture of Will Eisner, The Spirit, and this 3-head tall character that I created, Frederico the Detective. He looked like the Spirit, but he I mean, as far as the uniform, but he looked like Mauricio's Charlie Brown character. He's a Charlie Brown Brazil,
Right.
Monica, but I also loved Marvel Comics, Steve Ditko's Spider-Man. We were behind on the publication that was on in America, while they were reading Ross Andrews Spider-Man in America. We were still reading Stanley, Steve Ditko, black and white, and they put all the books in 3 or 4 books together. So we never saw all the covers. So if I wanted to see what was going on in a current continuity, I would go to the airport and then read the comics in English and find out that Gwen Stacy had died and all that. But I was very
Spoilers.
very much influenced by not only Disney and Marvel, but Asterix from France.
Oh yeah.
Uderzo loved Tintin and all the European, because Brazilians, even though they were behind on publication, they were very good in importing all comics from all over the world. And I remember as a kid that we had a publication called GB, because GB is like it's GIBI. It stands for comics, and we had a huge, like a tabloid thing that would collect not only Disney but would collect Tarzan, Flash Gordon, Alex Raymond, Milton Caniff, Terry and the Pirates, Dick Tracy, everything. So I was bombarded with all this information from all over the world, and I loved comics. And Joe Kubert, somebody mentioned Joe Kubert, was a huge influence on me as well, and his school was a huge inspiration for me too. When I would go to the airport to read the American comics, I was reading a Batman comic, and I saw the ad of Joe Kubert's school. I felt chills in my spine. It's like, that's the school I want to go to. And I remember clear as day, it was a Gene Colan Batman, and at the back, advertisement in blue lettering, and this ugly bird talks to a caveman. So, have you heard about it? The Joe Kubert School went up. So I immediately started dreaming of coming to America and saving money and learning English. So I served the Brazilian army when I was 18, and I went to a British English class, and I didn't have money to pay for the school, so I paid with drawings. I was in uniform because I didn't have time to go home. I would go from the army to the place to learn English, and I would pay with my drawings that they would utilize in their books. But I was also involved with Word of Life Ministries, which is a Christian organization founded by Jack Wyrtzen. And I was involved with church, and I grew up, drawing on bulletin boards as a kid, filled them up. I didn't pay attention to the preacher. I knew it was my time to finish drawing when I heard the triple amen. Hey, amen.
Awesome. I love it.
But I had my Bible background with Word of Life, and I had my urge to do comics by Joe Kubert's school. So because of my involvement with the Word of Life, they also had one school in upstate New York. And my involvement with a family from Holland who knew my walking with the Lord sent a letter to George Tice, who was the director of Word of Life in upstate New York. And through that, I got a scholarship to come to New York. And while I was ending my Bible Institute, I applied to the Cuba school. I talked to Joe Cuba over the phone. It was accepted. And I had my interview with Joe Cuba himself. I was so thrilled to hear him on the line. I had no idea how I would pay for that. But that's how I applied without knowing how I would attend. And I met a guy in New York City called from Manhattan Bible Church, Thomas Harris, and he wanted to do Christian comics, and he wanted to help me to fulfill my dream. So he kind of put the two together, and I went to the Cuba school while I was a janitor at Tom's church, and then I got involved with so many different jobs because. I had to leave for a while, but I went back in 1990 to the Cuba school. And as an RA, I was able to save that way. I would live at the mansion that it was the original Cuba school, but when I was a student, they were held at the high school, the old high school of Dover, New Jersey. And I remember I wanted to do all 5 years because Joe offered animation and comics. And I loved animation so much. That's an interesting thing. That after my first year, because you the 1 year, everybody, whether you're an animator or comic book artist, you do the first year, and then the second year you decide if you want to go to cartoon graphics or if you want to go to animation. And I opted to go to animation in the second year, and Joe was he was not very happy with my choice. But in the second day at an animation class, I freaked out. Because I saw, I was in the Army, and I remember that in the Army, you were one among 100 heads. And that's how I felt at the animation thing. I felt like I'm just going to be like a soldier, small head and all these kind of heads. And I love comics so much. At comics, we have the instant gratification. As opposed to you guys, you work so hard and you have to be tapped in the back to realize why you're there after a few years working really very hard on it. We comic book artists, we work very hard in 1 month and we see instant gratification after 1 month in working on the book. And we see our name there and all that. So much so that when I was at the Cuba school, Marvel Comics offered a job as a ghost lettering to the third year students. Nobody was interested because of that reason. As you go to school, to become the star of the book, right? So you don't want to be a ghost letterer. So nobody was interested, but I was interested. And I was, Siri is talking to me. But I remember that Milt Neal was the teacher there at the Cuba school. He was one of Disney animator. And it was fantastic to attend the Cuba school, but I think I felt the way you guys felt going to Marvel Bullpen because I got that job as a ghost letterer, taking my High Eisman. High Eisman, he's still alive. He drew Popeye, and he taught lettering at the Cuba school. So I took my lettering assignment to Marvel, and I was hired on the spot by Virginia Romita. Virginia was the wife of John Romita Sr., and his name is John Romita. They added the senior later, not to confuse him with Junior, John Romita Jr. Jeez. But I was hired to work in a bullpen, and I was like, I can't believe I'm here working at Marvel Comics. And Joe was not very happy that I didn't finish the third year because I got the job at Marvel. But because of my working in comics, I did something for Caliber Press, very small company called Dagon, and the editors, when my table was placed in a spot where the editors would walk and see that I not only did lettering but I could draw. So they gave me enough work. I was so busy I had to quit the model bullpen to work at home as a freelancer, penciling comic books. And then there was an editor who left to go to DC, and he offered me a monthly book at DC. With that success, Joe Kubert hired me to teach at the Kubert School. So I went back to the Kubert School, and I learned more teaching. I learned more at the Kubert School as a teacher, because 7 years, consecutive years teaching there, you get to meet so many people, not only instructors, but you get to meet a lot of creative minds. And later on, I went to CrossGen in Florida, and I also felt that same vibe of that you probably had at Disney, working in a studio with so many creative minds, all working together, but in different projects. But that's how I got to, because of my work with comics for Marvel and DC, and because my involvement with Nate Butler and Christian Art Society, and I did some work from some Christian publications, and David C. Cook was looking for somebody to revamp the old 1970s picture Bible. So they saw my work there, and they asked me if I wanted to revamp the old picture Bible. So I accepted that. But that's in a nutshell how I went through it. But I greatly love animation so much that I even bought the TV Paint software. I don't know if you're familiar with that program. It's a way to do the 2D animation, to keep the 2D animation. And I was greatly influenced by Aaron Blaise, who was taught by
Glenn.
Who was taught by the 9 men. So it's a full circle. And I was very honored to have Glenn people ask me to do something of support of his creative children's books. What is it? I forgot the name, but I think we are all involved. Whether you're a comic book artist or animation, it's phenomenal to be able to create and to be the actor. Yeah. I was always caught, even at work at Marvel or at home, people catching me doing funny faces in the mirror, and acting out, a part. In the offices, I remember holding an editor's collar and said, "Everything okay?" And, no, I'm just trying to pose for something. Shooting comics, and I'm sure you guys did the same thing at the animation studio.
Oh yeah.
And is the Joe Kubert School still going?
It's still going. One of the students bought it because Adam and Andy, they went on to do their own thing, and Anthony Marcus bought out the Kubert School, and because of the pandemic, they hired me back to teach online courses. So it's still going. I don't know how big it is compared to when Joe was alive. I know that the Kubert School, as well as Call Arts, were huge back in the day. So I'll be interested in your guys answering the question of what art school for animation is the best nowadays.
Yeah. Well, I'm not the person to ask, because literally, I was a kindergarten dropout. I was going to kindergarten in Nashville, Tennessee, where I grew up. My parents moved to another town, and they pulled me out of kindergarten. I never finished kindergarten. I did finish high school. I started to go to film school. I'm very interested in cinematography, especially, and directing of all kind of film. But so yeah, I started going to film school, but I didn't have the money to continue because I was paying for it on my own, and I had to drop out of film school in Los Angeles. And shortly thereafter, I got accepted into Hanna-Barbera's internship program. It wasn't really an internship program; it was a little different, but yeah, that's sort of how I got in the door. But one of my dreams is maybe in retirement I may go to college. That might be something I'd like to
Awesome.
I'd love to do that.
That's
Love that experience, you know.
Yeah.
You know, in order to kind of address the whole education field, there's a lot of questions that you have to answer, especially if you're a parent out there with a high school student who is wanting to go into art school. If you're a Christian parent, you definitely want to consider the kind of the ideology of whatever school you're wanting to go to. There are a lot of great schools, you know, that are not necessarily Christian schools, but you still have to be very, very vigilant these days at, okay, well, what are they teaching? What is their ideology? Where do they come from? But there's tons and tons of really great Christian schools out there. In the Pacific Northwest, I teach at George Fox University as well. They have a very, very good art program over there. There's Regent University, that's in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Of course, there's Liberty, that's in Lynchburg, Virginia. There's tons and tons of, there's Azusa, there's all sorts of different schools that are around the country. You should just go to their website and just kind of consult and see maybe if there are people in your church who have gone to college. I would definitely consult them as well. You're the gatekeeper for your kid, and so it's you have to do the due diligence.
I know that Disney used to go to CalArts, right, to recruit new animators.
CalArts and Ringling and Columbus College of Art and Design and Pratt, I guess. But and I would add on the Christian schools, Asbury University. My oldest son, is a alumni of there, and they have a great media program. I don't think they do so much animation, although I've seen some kids experimenting in animation up there. But they've got a great media program for film and TV there.
Yeah, I think Mitch, go ahead.
Sorry, I would say that Barry and Daryl and myself are all pretty much proof that you actually don't need a college arts degree to get into the industry. Like a bit of divine intervention doesn't hurt, or just and Sergio's proof as well, that sometimes you just gotta just push hard and do everything you can to make it, like his story's amazing. But I would also say that these days people are so lucky that they've got all this online content, all these online courses that they can take, which wasn't around back in our day. Back in our day. There's SBS Learn for illustration, it's all just going to evaporate from my head as soon as I try and remember the other names. But there's, Sergio mentioned Aaron Blaze, who's got awesome online preacher art teacher. I mean, I sign up to his stuff. I'm still learning as much as, someone out of high school, I feel, because I sign up to Aaron Blaze's online courses and look at his stuff for inspiration, and I'm still learning from his stuff. And and every now and then, like even I just bought a 75% off subscription to 21 Draw because I like some of their stuff. So I feel like there's just so many options out there at the moment as far as if anyone's there going, how do I get to college, or which college do I go to? Not saying that college isn't a great option, but there's online options as well.
Yeah, but the advantage, my opinion, the advantage of having any kind of environment where you have physical contact with people and creators is that you are connected instantly with a connection of a connection of a connection of a connection. If you're online, you're kind of far away from everyone, and you're solo on your own, trying to reach those who are searching and digging the internet. But when you're physically involved with a body of workers, wherever they are located, you are increasing your probability of hearing about opportunities that may come by that school or that group that you're involved with. Even us being together here, just because we are together talking about stuff, we're already learning from each other and getting hints and tips. Imagine being week after week with groups, whatever that. If in school you're paying to learn, so you're forced to go and you're forced to submit work, but you're forced, hopefully not forced, but you are getting interaction with teachers who are making money outside of teaching. You getting connections with students who are meeting others and getting connections themselves, and sometimes they need your help. And so being together, whether in conventions or schooling, wherever that is. I went to Liberty. Liberty is amazing. It's like if there could be a Christian Disney, Liberty would be the place.
Wow.
That could probably make it happen because they are a world. Even the cops work for them. I mean, when I went there, I had my name in billboards. Driving through the city, they own the whole place. The cops work for them. Are you a police officer? Yeah, but we are police officer for Liberty, but it's amazing. Liberty is the Christian Disney World kind of thing for all kinds of courses that you can take, and the facilities for music, for film is amazing. But whether you go to the Cuba School, to Liberty, or to California, or to Australia, I think it's important to find some kind of environment where you have a constant connection with other creators. I think, personally.
You challenge each other, right? I mean, it's like you look at the guy who's like drawing across from you. It's like, wow, he's good. I better up my game. There's a constant challenge, that's just like, wow, I'm with these guys. I better get with it,
Right.
It's made like a team sport almost, it's like you have to rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
I think I want to go to Liberty now.
I'll put in a good word for you, Matt.
So I do have a question. So Matt, you had mentioned basically kind of like continuing education as an artist. How do you guys, like, working in a creative industry, how do you not only find time for yourself creatively, like to work on stuff that you're passionate about, but how, like, working on this is your actual job, how do you stay in a creative mindset even when it's something you might not necessarily be, the subject matter might not necessarily be something that you're super passionate about? How do you stay in that creative flow, that mindset? And that's probably a loaded question.
Doing more of this, are we doing? Being alert. Get your Facebook running. Get your Twitter running. Your Instagram running. Stay connected. Don't isolate yourself. And go to conventions. Read about what's happening. Go to the movies. Watch Netflix, HBO, whatever it is that you watch your movies from. And get to know as many people as you can. Facebook allows us to have 5,000. Get Instagram and get your whatever. But opportunities like this that we have right now, it's because we did that. We connected to others. They're connected to others. So basically, I think we have to be alert and be aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely. And something that's been great getting to know all of the guys in this panel here is, if you haven't, everybody listening hasn't realized yet, they're all continual learners. Every one of you guys, as I've studied your work and your careers, looking at it every day, you're learning something new. You're always pushing yourselves, learning from each other, connecting, like you say, Sergio, with new people. Barry and I have been working on some audio stuff, and, there's like experiments that comes from the animation world and, coming from theater, and you kind of have to take all these elements, stuff from film, mixing it together, seeing, the influence of different art forms, and then, like Matt and Daz, I see you guys always teasing each other about your work, one better than the other on this thing or that thing. And obviously that camaraderie and that forcing you to kind of up your game is definitely evident, in the careers of everyone here. And obviously we do that at Terminus as well. Baron and Chris and Mark and our whole team there. Everybody's always attempting to improve and, get better with every new project.
Awesome.
As far as continual learning, you get stages of life as well where you get busy with family and things like that. So being a family man, it's hard to carve out time for your own projects, and being a working artist as well. Sometimes you get to the end of a work day and you've been drawing all day and you've been enjoying it, but you're also half thinking about your own project that you want to get to some of the time. And you're like, oh man, after work tonight, I'm gonna draw this, or I'm gonna do that, and then you get to the end of the work day, and sometimes there's just zero creative energy left in your brain, or you're just tired. Like if you leave it till late at night, I think people work differently. Some people are night owls and they can just go all night. And I find that at this stage of life, I get to the end of the evening and I find it really hard to still be creative and to, look at something from schoolism.com to discover something new or whatever. I find that really difficult. And so I'm actually trying to swap it up at the moment and actually do something before I start my work day. Even if it's just half an hour before I start my work day, I can look at a new tutorial or something like that, or try a new technique, or try lighting something in a new way, and just learning something before I start my day. And I feel like that even gets my creative juices going for the day, rather than leaving it till the end of the day. So I think it's important just to discover in yourself how you work creatively and when you're most energized to learn.
Can I ask that one, Cross? I know we talked about asking that question, but like best practices, what do you guys do? That's something that I'm interested to hear from all of you guys. What have you figured out that works well for you to stay in that creative place to be able to keep cranking out such high quality content?
Well, actually, if I can combine that, because we've got a couple of audience questions as well that are kind of on the opposite end of that, so I want to kind of throw in both sides of it. So yeah, what are some of the creative things that keep you going? But one that we got through an event from William Brooks was saying, what have you learned from your early mistakes breaking into the business? And then we also got one from Archie Bible Nerd on YouTube saying, what early mistakes have you made in the business that you've learned from, and what should aspiring artists not do? So if we can kind of hit that from both sides, and so what are the things that keep you creative, and what things have you done that you've realized, wow, that was a really bad idea, I probably shouldn't have done that, and I wish I hadn't done that, and what have you learned from it?
Probably, I think that the question, what not to do, I think, is to have an ego, and to not think I'm a great artist, I'm a great drawer. I think I wouldn't say that I did that when I walked into Disney, but inside you think, because you were probably the best drawer in high school. You were probably the best drawer in all your circles of friends and your family, and everybody keeps telling you that. Right. And you're confident in your ability. So you've walked into this new building for the first time, being confident in your ability. And then, like Sergio mentioned, I think Barry mentioned as well, I think we've all mentioned and we've all experienced that you walk in and you see some of the other people's artwork there, and you just deflate. And you think, man, I have to pick myself up from the bottom, learn to be humble, and learn from these guys.
Yeah.
I've mentioned before that Matt was an influence, and that wasn't a joke. That was true. I met Matt the day we walked in the building, and after seeing his work, I was just drawn to it, and I thought I got to surround myself with some of these guys, especially Matt, because there's things I can learn from them. And working with Matt, both at Disney and on personal projects, has made me a better artist today than I was when I walked in place.
I want to say that we should, for the beginners, you should, if you have a walk with the Lord, we're talking about Jesus Christ here and His Word, you should learn to ask to be able to see opportunity when it comes, because sometimes opportunities, they come disguised in something that you may not think as big. So the mistake is thinking that the opportunity will show up as a big door, but sometimes they show up as a small window. And if you have the humility of accepting something that you probably would not have if your ego was too big, then you're able to get in because of your humility. And then once you get in, you also have to have that balance of self-worth, to be able to maintain yourself respected in the business, but at the same time always having a student mind. I can always learn, but I am here because I also have learned something, and I'm able to give something which I've gained from my experience.
I totally agree with you, Sergio. When it comes down to it, a lesson that I've learned over the course of many years and making many mistakes, and Daryl, this is going into the category of what not to do, is you have to learn how to balance everything. We all have lives outside of drawing cartoons. And I have a wife, and and so it's like you have to. And I know, Matt, we had a really great conversation some time back about that very thing, about just finding that balance. We have to put God first in everything that we do. Jesus Christ has to be our North Star when it comes to, okay, well, how do we do this life? He is the primary artist anyway, so he's the template that we follow. And so having him first, and then having our family, if you're a husband or a father or whatever, that's the secondary tier of it all. And then underneath that, I think if you have the balance nicely set with all of that first, I don't know how, but God allows me to do everything I need to do, to teach, to work on my books, to somehow have those times, that little investment of fish and loaves that we learned from the Bible story somehow is multiplied when you have your priorities straight.
I certainly.
Before we jump into something else, guys, we actually have another guest. It looks like he might actually be able to join us. He just came into the lobby.
Oh,
all right.
Mitch is actually joining us. Let's see if we can get him on in here. Hello, Mitch. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Mitch?
Hey. Hi, everybody. I'm having trouble hearing everyone. I have just emerged from the deer woods in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. You'll never find me on the map, so I've turned down a Wi-Fi signal.
All right.
I might have to try a different browser because I cannot hear anything any of you guys are saying. So I might have to hop over to another browser on my iPad. My apologies.
No problem at all.
I will join you back in just a little bit.
All right, sir. No problem.
But I see from hearing all of you, I see a great sense of humility from everyone here, and that pays off. And at the same time, I see a great amount of rewards being given by our God to us in our journey, and the reason why we're here too. So based on that alone, we can put the two together. If you have humility, you're willing to say yes to certain things, and you're willing to work on certain, be in betweener, be a ghost letterer, be the guy who sweeps the floor, be the mailman, but get in there. You know what I mean? Get involved in a fashion with a small title, and then do the best you can. Do the best you can. Every work that we get, we should do it as if the Lord is our boss. So when we have that attitude of doing our best, even in something that may not be our dream, that pays off, and then it multiplies that. It's like you're throwing your bread on the water, and it's coming back fully baked, fluffy, and juicy and delicious. You're able to reward from having planted the seed in a small seed many times, and not think of sitting in the front seat right away, because then somebody might tell you to go to the back. Hey, you're not leaving. Go back there. But I think that's a secret for any of us in any facet of our lives.
It's so easy to get caught up in the praise of men, that people are like, wow, I love this and that and the other. It's like, and also know who you're working for, like you said, Sergio. That's so important. And for me, that sustained me through a lot of things at Disney. It's like, I know I'm working on this film, and I know I'm working for this boss or whatever, this producer or this studio head, but I'm really working for the Lord. They may not know that. That's okay. But I know that. And if I know that, and I think the mistake is, and the mistakes I've made it many times, is to get those priorities out of whack, like Dr. Bell says, not have them sort of in the right order and get them out of whack, and sort of, fall into the, believing people's, praise and the wind they blow up your skirt and that kind of thing. But that's it's a big thing, I think, for Christians in our line of work to stay grounded and know who we're ultimately working for. That's good.
I actually want to use that you guys talking about that's a great opportunity. I want to move into some more questions talking about that, about faith and talking about that and how we apply that into the different entertainment industries that you all work in. One of the first questions we got at all, and let's see if I can pull it up, from Emil Flores as part of the giveaways. They sent this question and I wanted to just share it. I'm looking forward to this event. As a professor at the university in the Philippines and as a writer, I am constantly burdened by God's call to redeem the arts. How do you present the gospel to a contemporary audience without watering it down? And I find that really interesting because we were kind of talking about this way back when we first came on stream, Daniel, about the, presenting the gospel, and also you're presenting it to a world that's not full of faith, for people who don't know Christ, and for a lot of times don't have an interest in knowing Christ.
Right. Jews versus Greeks, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, how do you present it to people without watering down the message, but still make it palatable that people actually are interested?
Yeah.
I was saying it's kind of interesting because I think I'm the only one here that started out in ministry and then kind of moved the other direction more into the the realm of just art and projects in general. You guys all started, your careers were more just Christian people working in the industry on other projects. Is that right? I believe so. So I think maybe a lot of the people tuning in are coming the other direction. They're starting out in the Christian realm, starting with Christian art, and saying, how do we preach the gospel to the world, or how do we create art for the church? So maybe some advice for those folks. What would you guys say to them? People who are trying to, young Christian creators, people coming up to do projects like this. What would you suggest to them that we could offer them as advice as far as how they could live out their faith in the industry, or how they could best become artistically skilled and use their craft to create good art?
Picking up from what Barry said, Glenn Keane, right? His father was Bill Keane, creator of the Family Circus. It's a very artistic family. Glenn has also another brother who was an artist, I think. But Glenn mentioned one time that when he did the Beast, swirling and changing back into the Prince, he thought of the conversion when he was doing the key drawings of the animation of the Beast. And I think that when we think of what we are involved with is a gift from the great creator, we instinctively put our best. It was also said by Barry here, put your best, or Matt and Daryl. And I think that pays off, because as we do our work as we do our Supermans of life, it gets picked up by others, like, this guy does stellar work. I should listen to him. And that automatically gives us good ears to what you have to say. Your work sucks. You don't have nothing to teach me. But when you are respected in the business, whatever you do, whether you're a fisherman or a tax collector, if you do it well, and all of a sudden you got yourself turned around by the carpenter, it shows up in your work. It shows up in whatever you do, and you excel in it. And I think you just let it let God bring you the opportunities. You certainly will walk through pathways of people that will be used by God in all the circumstances put together to meet the Savior. One of the colorists who colored the Action Bible, just this week, he was telling me that he was thanking me for when in 2007, 8, 10, when he was one of the 7 colorists helping me to color the book, 700 pages. He said by working on the Action Bible himself, got him more interested in reading the Bible, and then he got him interested in finding the Savior, and then it sprung in him a strong desire to do his own comic book, Bible based, and he's been working for years, and he finally finished, and he's looking for somebody to publish. But to me, that's an example of your diligent work in doing your whatever mission and job opportunity that God gave you. You do it like Barry said, like I said, unto the Lord. Do it as if your ultimate boss is the one above the eternal, the human boss, and then that pays off, and and God's anointings goes through whatever you do into somebody else's, and then it becomes something that only God could plan. So I don't think you need to worry about making it happen. You just do it today what it's supposed to do it today, and then if you do it today under that umbrella of protection, that umbrella of faithfulness, that umbrella of thankfulness and diligence, tomorrow will come in proper time and manner for all of these questions without you having to trying to make it happen. You're doing your thing well, and then it pays off. So it doesn't matter. It's like one guy when I went to the Bible school, and he because Word of Life is mission based, and then this guy who is a good photographer, he talked to me. I don't feel like I want to be a missionary. I want to be a photographer. And I feel guilty. Why would you feel guilty of being a photographer? We use photographs. We use airplanes. We sit on chairs. We make books. We are enjoying every facet of professions played out by everyone.
Right.
All the missionaries need books. They need chairs. They need planes. They need cameras. Do your best as a photographer and get rid of that guilt. And it was like, wow, I never thought of that.
I think along those lines, I think a lot of times we think as Christians, in order to tell the story of Christ, we're borrowing from the world. Look, the Lord owns creativity. The Lord, yes. I mean, we're among all people, we should be at the forefront of film, of music, of art, every kind of art, of sculpture, of poetry, everything you can think of, art related, design, everything. We're not following up the world. We're not riding on their coattails. We should be at the apex of what's going on. We should be leading the charge as believers, because we know the Creator, and every single story, I'll tell you, every story I've ever developed points to the big story. Yeah. Every single story, whether it's an allegory of that story or whether it's a murder mystery, it's still pointing to death and resurrection of life. Most stories, even horror movies, I mean, there's no zombies even, they have a connection back to the story in terms of death and resurrection and these kind of things. Right. It's our territory. It's not the world's territory necessarily.
Yeah, I feel like we talk about Jesus as the creator, like in an abstract term, but he's legitimately like the creator. Like he creates. you know, and like just looking at nature and be able to appreciate specific things in nature, seeing like artistic compositions in nature that you wouldn't necessarily notice before. It's indicative of who he is. So.
Yes.
Yeah. Let me just check and make sure. Mitch, can you hear us okay now?
I can hear. I had to go in my car to get rid of. For some reason, I'm on my iPad, and I tried my phone and 2 different browsers, and it must be a thing with StreamYard. Like I can barely. It's like you guys are like a whisper, but I'm in the car, and I'm cupping the speakers to my ears, and I can pick up most of what you guys are saying. So I'm following along.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Okay, awesome. If there's any issues, just let us know. Honestly, Mitch, thank you so much for joining us today. It was greatly appreciated.
Well,
You're in the back end of nowhere joining us, so
I apologize. I think I might be a little late. I literally just came out of just Buffalo River Valley, middle of the nowhere. There's not a cell phone signal in miles. I'm at a canoe shop using their Wi-Fi. You cannot find me. Like I'm gone.
Mitch is the hero for today.
Yeah, it is greatly appreciated. That is some level above and beyond effort to be here as part of this panel today. It is so
thank you so
appreciated.
much.
Thank you so much, man, for coming in. So we'd love to get your input and joining the conversation. The next question, kind of carrying on from what Sergio and Barry was saying. Just let me throw it up on the screen as well. It comes from Ivan and Anaya. Mercy Way Studios actually sent this into us. What do you think Christian comics and animation needs to do to be impactful in this generation?
I think it needs to be bold and unapologetic. Just reminded, I saw Barry Cook's My Last Day. I thought that was fantastic. Very bold, very accurate. You know, I think that's what we need to do. We need to really not water it down so it can be accepted, but it needs to be told truthfully and boldly as it is. And that's the only way the Holy Spirit's going to work with it.
Because
impacting people's lives.
There can be no impact without the gospel. I mean, the life. I mean, it's not about. It's about changing dead men into live men. That's what the gospel is. It's not about making good guys better or making people's lifestyles more palatable. It's unapologetic presentation of the gospel is what we're trying to do. I'm trying to do with the Jesus Film Project. The power is in the good news.
Yeah,
and if we don't deliver that good news, if we deliver something that's sort of like it, or sort of sounds like it, or just more moral stories, or just morality lessons, we're missing the mark. It's not gonna change anything, you know. But,
right. That's right. I was approached by a few professionals in the comic book business because of the Action Bible, thanking me for opening the doors for them.
Oh, man.
Because all of a sudden, back when I was thinking of becoming a cartoonist, I talked to Alan Hartley. Remember him? He did the comics of Al Hartley. He did the cross.
I had it because I was going to talk about it here. This was handed to me as a kid in Sunday school. This is the first comic I ever owned.
That's awesome.
The cross and the switchblade. He did some other things that. But I remember talking to him on the phone about my dream of becoming a cartoonist and doing Christian comics as well. And over the phone, he was in his last days. He was sick. He was ill. He was not doing much anymore. And he was saying, Sergio, there's no market for it. But somehow that did not crush my dream and my strong desire to do something. And the Action Bible is proof of it. And because I did the best I could with that topic, it encouraged other publishers to do the same. And then we have a ripple effect. Barry does his thing, I do mine, Matt does his, and we do a ripple effect in the industry. And we have no idea how big the waves will be if we do our best in the
You know, I think that honestly, that's a very, very good but a complicated question. Because we all here represented have our own kind of methods of reaching the world for Jesus, and you know there are some that are more literal, some like Sergio, you're doing the action Bible that directly impacts the world in that sphere. I know Mitch, he's doing things with Allegiance that is not necessarily outwardly Christian, but espouse a lot of really good, solid morals and values, especially taking us back to a lot of bygone era storytelling. And so, and then of course you have, you know, what we're doing over at Terminus, which is kind of like doing like a hybrid approach where we're taking like Star Wars and, you know, a lot of these other properties that you'll recognize and then smashing them up against the Bible and storytelling with C.S. Lewisian kind of tropes. And so I think, you know, it really is about, you know, you meeting God where your talent is. And then allowing him to direct and guide you in the direction you need to go to be the most effective. I mean, the world is a big chessboard, and we're all little pieces that Jesus moves around to kind of influence the world in different ways. And so, you know, to those who are out there who are artists who really want to impact the world via Jesus, you know, you first pray. Second, go to school or find a way to get your talent up. Because Sergio, you're absolutely right. No one will take you seriously if your art sucks. So you have to really kind of stay on top of your game. Surround yourself with people who are better than you, kind of like Shaq and Kobe in the NBA. You know, it's like each one levels the other up, and so you surround yourself with that, but also find that mission that speaks to your heart, and then follow that.
Yeah, I want to just remind everyone, the Action Bible was not my idea. You know, the Picture Bible was not my idea. And it was 1973 when I first read the Picture Bible. I was a kid. I was learning to ride a bike. I was just there at the right time at the right place with the right people. That's the what happened. But what happened was a response to my walk. A response to my walk and my attitude and my alertness that I talked about that led me right into where God wanted me to be at the right time, at the right place. And some of us will have the opportunity and power to create something brand new on our own and make it happen. But some of us will be just in a path of somebody creating something. And we'll be the part of the team that will be walking in the right time. Boom. And then by our walk, we'll have glasses that are able to see that right opportunity coming by. And then that's how I say that, you know, if you do your today according to his will, then your tomorrow will be good.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to suggest that Christians should only be working on Christian gospel-oriented content at all. That's not what I'm saying. But if you want to deliver the gospel, you've got to deliver the gospel and not some artificial form of it. The audio play that Daniel and I are doing some work on right now, it's all about the afterlife to make you think about it. But the gospel's not really in that story. So, you know, there's places for all sorts of it. But if you're going to deliver the gospel, the thing that does change hearts of people and makes hearts of stone into hearts of flesh, only the gospel can do that. Everything else can lead to that, can lead somebody to find that ultimate message. But we can't fool ourselves into thinking that anything will do in terms of the gospel is.
Yeah. And so actually I want to kind of divert the conversation a little bit. I want to kind of turn to Daryl and Matt and talk a little bit about Samson Rise, because I want Daryl to have an opportunity to put some input in there, because this man is insane. He's up early hours of the morning in Australia to be part of this panel and is literally getting ready to go to work right after this. So he's actually about to take off. You're a crazy man, Daryl. You really are.
You just see him swing a jawbone, then you'll realize.
But I would love to get some input in you guys to talk about and tell the people watching a little bit about Samson Rise. We got to hear about you working with Disney and how you got into that. How did you guys transition over from being part of an animation studio to comics, and what road led to Samson, and how did that all come about? And tell the people about
I'd always
Samson
been into
Ryan.
comics as well, so I was always into anything to do with art, really. I mean, I even used to love looking at Norman Rockwell's paintings. They were very influential as well. But whether it was animation's just the first thing that I was able to get into without any kind of prior training, because they had a training program. Like Sergio, I also saw in the comic books the Jokerberg School of Art, and I used to daydream about being able to do that, but not having any money and being on the other side of the planet has made it incredibly difficult. And I was just fortunate enough that they had a studio, Disney, in Sydney, and I was living in Sydney, and they had a training program for untrained people that I was able to get in that way. So that's just kind of the route I took, because it was the only door that was open. But I'd always been reading comics since I was a young teen, and I'd always thought it'd be great to be able to do that, but never had any formal training in comic book art. Once I'd met Matt and I'd seen that for his year 12 end of year thing that he had to do, he did his own comic book. I thought I got to get alongside this guy. We found each other because we were both Christians as well, so we kind of gravitated toward each other. And we'd been talking about doing a comic book together for a long time, 20 years or more, and never got around to it. We did have a couple of shorter things we did. We used to talk about doing, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Frank Peretti's, what's the title of that book?
This Present Darkness.
This Present Darkness. We had the idea of doing something either similar, and then we thought, why don't we just write to his publishing company and see if we can, we had all these desires and dreams. But I think when it really got down to it, we both had families. We both had, by this time we had other work that we needed to do, and we had very little time for personal projects. Matt had a lot more going on than I did. When COVID hit, we've both found ourselves kind of with nothing to do. And we got in contact after we hadn't spoken for quite some time. And we said, well, now that we have nothing to do, let's put one of these comic book ideas into practice that we had. And Samson, I think, is the one Bible story that really, I think, lends itself to comic books, because you've almost got this, character, he was a real figure, but probably more like a superhero than anybody we've ever had, where he had the super strength, and he also had a lot of flaws, which was very interesting. In that you also have, the love interest who's Poison, as Daniel coined her. She's the original Bond girl, sexy and sinister, and I just thought this is a story that needs to be a comic book, and I wanted to push it. If you read the actual story, there's a lot of it's not watered down, and I wanted to keep it that way. So you saw the blood, you saw the the seduction, you saw all Samson's flaws out there. I probably pushed it a little too far in spots, and Matt had to reel me back. And so
there was this one bit, Daz, sorry to cut you off, man, but there was this one bit where Samson had just had his hair cut off, and the Philistine soldiers were about to take him away, and Daz sent through this picture of the Philistine soldier just popping Samson's eye out with a knife. And I was like,
thanks.
Can we change that a little bit?
Let's pull it back just a tad.
I think your actual comment was, "This is not Game of Thrones."
Yeah.
It's still there. The camera angle just changes. That's all.
Yeah, so we did it from behind just to make it a little more acceptable. But yeah, so the idea of when we were actually doing Samson is we wanted to tell the story, but we wanted to see we weren't hooked up with Terminus at this point, so we just wanted to make a comic for us. I just wanted to make the comic that I wanted to read. And we'd start off just by doing. We didn't start off doing each page and each sequence together. We just started off doing drawings, and we were getting inspired off each other's work. I'd draw something and send it to Matt, and then he'd ink it and send it back, and that would just inspire me to just draw 3 or 4 pages in a row. The lion scene there, that was a lot of fun to do. And I think that we came up with this end product. We tried to write it, and both neither Matt nor myself fancy ourselves as writers. We were lucky enough to meet Dan, who we asked, would you take a look at our script and kind of beef it up, make it a bit more coherent. And he did a fantastic job doing that, and it just all comes together in what you see now. Matt, jump on, help me out.
We can't see each other.
I was enjoying listening to you. It's. I think one of the things that appealed to me about the Samson story when Daz suggested it was that whole idea of you're never too late for redemption. You can make a complete mess of your life, and it's still not too late, for God's grace and God's mercy. And for me, at least, that's the whole thrust of the story. When you get to the actual meat and bones of it, it's really about one guy's journey of given so much potential and sometimes living up to it, and sometimes making a complete train wreck of it, and yet, God is gracious, God is merciful, and He's the God of second, third, fourth, fifth chances, and so that appealed to me, and I just like Daz said, we've been talking about doing something for ages, and I just really enjoyed the back and forth that Daz and I had. Like doing comics, you usually have your penciler, and then your inker, and then your colorist, and you go through the conveyor belt. And we did it a bit differently because like Daz said, we were very back and forth. So sometimes I'd be penciling bits, and Daryl would be inking some bits, and so what you see is very much a synergy of our two styles. Which was fun. But that being said, like if people out there are wanting to do like a comic book series and get them out on time and that sort of thing, I don't particularly recommend our method, because we were just doing a lot of mucking around and time wasting, and we do it differently if we were doing like a monthly series or something like that.
At that time though, we weren't with Terminus Media, so we had no deadlines. We had nobody telling us to reel it back in except for each other.
We were just doing it for ourselves,
and so we just did it in our own time, did as much as we wanted, did whatever we wanted. It wasn't until we sort of got together with Daniel and Mark and Dr. Baron Bell there that we joined up with Terminus Media, and they were going to publish it for us. That now we had deadlines. Now we had that. Now it became a job. Very enjoyable. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and like what you guys have been saying about quality and things like that, we really wanted to bust our chops to try and just do the best job quality-wise that we could. Like, so we're really just going, how can we fix this panel? How can we make this more dynamic? How can we really up the ante with the coloring and lighting to just make it appealing to readers? So we were really trying our best, and hopefully we've come close to like just making it look as polished and exciting as the stuff that's at the top of the industry. That was kind of what we're aiming for.
And I'd given the book to friends, and some of them, non-Christian friends as well. And some of them have even said, I'm not really interested in reading a religious comic or any kind of religious, a book or anything like that. And I would always just start by just showing them some of the panels, and then they'd pick it up and read it. And that was because they love the art, and that's probably what drew them in. Well, now you're reading Bible.
Yeah. That's absolutely awesome. And that's amazing just in seeing that, like how art can just draw people into a project. Like even something they've never had any interest in, just having such good artwork behind it is enough to pull them in and want them to be involved in it. And just one last kind of question from the audience there. I kind of threw it up since I know you have to run, Daryl, but
that's okay. I got a few minutes.
What's next after Samson Rise? Because you guys collaborated together like before you did Samson Rise.
Yeah, we did the Big Bible Challenge. Was the Big Bible Challenge, Matt? Is that what it was called?
Yep. Yep.
It was one of Matt's jobs. Matt picked up this job, and then he got in contact with me and said, "I've taken on more than I can chew. Are you free? Are you free to help out?" And I'd take any opportunity to work with Matt. And I said, absolutely. And so Matt had already drawn a few of the bigger, beautiful pictures in that. I don't know if you have any to show. But when he showed me those, I thought, oh, what have I gotten myself into? You got it there? Yeah. And so I tried to keep up with Matt there. And basically, I was drawing a lot of the pages you see there, and Matt was inking them and painting them and just taking my drawings and just making them beautiful.
So that sort of thing. Oh, where are we going?
Oh, wow.
Oh, man,
and when we
awesome.
were working on that, we were saying, wouldn't it be fantastic if we could just do something for ourselves?
Wow.
That's awesome.
It's gorgeous.
Thanks.
That's awesome. And because you guys have collaborated on that, you collaborated in Samson Rise. Is there plans for you guys to keep
yeah, so what's next? That was the question, sorry.
No. Hey, I'd love
the question was what's next? Well, that's really up to we have Matt, Daniel, and myself have thrown ideas around, and I think we've come up with some good ones. Matt's a very busy man, so I don't know how much he's able to put into it. So I don't know what's next really. I'm hoping there's something is next.
Why didn't you guys show the statue of Samson?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
These just got here in the mail, so the others don't have them yet. I'm the first
that's
one.
Mad.
Get it focused.
Fantastic.
There.
Yeah, statue for Samson from Samson Rise.
Samson Rise right there.
Look at those calf
100% want this. I want one of these.
And that's
by leg day.
This was done by our sculptor. Yeah, I developed this with Hoodsie Carvalho, who is an amazing artist who did the 3D modeling for that. So
that's awesome.
Can I just say though, looking at this whole panel and just seeing names like Barry Cook and Sergio Cariello and Dr. Seeing all these names, I would love to see something with all these names on it. I'd love to see that come next.
That'd be awesome.
Whatever that might look like, whether it be an animation or be a comic book.
Mark, you're in chat. Just no pressure, Mark. You're in chat. Cameras get a half.
Well,
we get that going.
Daniel,
we got to get the Liberty University Disney thing going there. That was
we can say that we have kind of floated an idea with some of these guys to do some work in the Dominion verse with the Book of Judges. Ooh. And so we're playing around with it, and if the resources are there to do it, and this is what I was telling Matt the other day, if the resources are there to do it, then we will do it. But we just have to pray and see what the Lord. And this is the overall theme of everything is we pray. We see what the Lord says, and if the doors open in that direction, then we'll definitely work that way.
I know that I saw somebody asking, why do you guys make This Present Darkness happen? Frank Peretti. And I remember when I was at Marvel back in the 90s, I was asking this question: how come we don't have a This Present Darkness Frank Peretti comic book? And I forget the details, but I found out through my contacts that Frank Peretti sold the rights to This Present Darkness, all that series, and whoever bought it is sitting on it, and Frank cannot do anything about it, and nobody can. So that's that.
It's unfortunate.
We will find you.
We know our mission now, gentlemen. Let's find them. Thank you so much for your input, guys. Thank you so much for your amazing work on Samson Rise. And just to wrap it up, we're actually going to do another one of our giveaways, and we're actually going to draw 2 names now that are going to get copies of Samson Rise signed by Matt and Daz. So if you have not signed up at terminusmedia.com/events yet, last chance, get your name in to get a chance to win Samson Rise. We're going to be pulling some names right now. Let me pull our wheel back up.
Get ready for the applause, guys. Here we go.
That's fun.
All right, let me see. Any last names coming in? All right, I don't see anyone. I'm going to pick our first name. First winner. Brian Senefeld. You are getting a signed copy of Samson Rise. Last check. Any other names came in? Nope. All right.
That's a cool wheel.
Brian Senefeld and Adam B. Or Ads from over in the Twitch chat getting a signed copy of Samson Rise from the guys. So thank you
all the way from Australia.
Yeah, that's going to come all the way to Australia to get them to.
Expensive post.
All right, let me just quickly write that down before I forget those names, because I will. All right, but since Daz has had to duck out, and it took him long enough to get here since he's in the middle of nowhere, I'd actually like to hand over and get some conversation going with Mitch Brightweiser, who has joined us for today. Thank you so much again, Mitch, for joining us. In the middle of nowhere on your trip, you decided to still hang in for this. You're all nuts. Like, seriously, that everyone's like tuning in for this panel. You're all crazy, and we love all of you for it. But thank you so much, Mitch.
I will take that as a compliment. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, 100% meant as a compliment. 100% meant as a compliment. But, yeah, Nitro, do you want to do a little rundown for Mitch and what he's done and stuff for our audience, if you didn't really do that at the start? And then we'll get to dive into some of his current work while I'm write these names down before they fall into my head.
Yeah, bear with me one moment. Sorry, I got a couple screens up right now. Sorry.
The big question, though, Mitch, did you get anything?
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, not yet. It's the formal hunting party has not been underway, so we're just setting up and hanging out and getting lost.
Well, again, Mitch, we appreciate you taking some time out today. But
it's wonderful to be here, and the Samson thing, I hadn't heard about that. That's super cool. I'm glad that's getting made. That's
cool.
Yeah, so just a really brief introduction for Mitch, for everybody who's joined today. So Mitch has over 20 years of experience in comics and as an illustrator. He's worked on some characters like Captain America, X-Men, and Drax. And he also released his own comic, The Red Rooster. He works with his wife, who's an Eisner-nominated color artist, Elizabeth, and they own Allegiance Arts and have published a couple books since then. So, again, welcome. Really appreciate you having us, or us having you.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I greatly appreciate it.
No problem. But Mitch, yeah, so if you want to give us a little kind of overhead of like your time at Marvel, obviously you got the opportunity to work there and work on some characters, and then
so
let's delve into like from there, like working with them, and then the spurring on of you kind of leaving Marvel and going into your own own work and like the creation of Red Rooster and stuff. And
all right,
Allegiance.
So the 60,000 foot view. So I like many other children, I was bound and determined to become a comic book artist, and made my dreams a reality, and was really kicked off my career doing Drax the Destroyer, like essentially at the time a nearly forgotten character that they asked me to redesign, and I did that, and that kicked off a long career at Marvel Comics. From there, I got into drawing Captain America books, lots of miniseries and specials and fill-ins and stuff on Captain America titles, and then a handful of other super cool things along the way. And I like Ultimate Fantastic Four, that was fun, and Captain America Zero Point with Daniel Knopf, the creator of Carnival and many other wonderful shows. Got to work with a lot of very, very great people, including my own spouse, Elizabeth Brightweiser, who is an excellent painter when we met, and then I talked her into learning Photoshop and trying her hand at comic book coloring, and
Nice.
that became a career, which she just really did very well at. So she's a super talent as well, and we got to work together on a lot of different things, and that's been fun. And I had for many, many years, I've been bound and determined to create my own and own my own content. We kind of felt like we were reaching the end of our tenure, I guess, at Marvel and other publishers, and so we made a conscious decision to step back, kind of just create our own little small business and focus on creating content. And we did that for a couple of years, building up a business plan, a strategy, the foundations of what would become our Allegiance Arts Initiative. Then we launched a crowdfunding for our title, The Red Rooster, that I created many years ago and worked on for years and years in sketchbooks and the like. It did very well, and it opened it was kind of a crazy time. So we were very lucky and very successful. We raised a good deal of money in our very first day, and within 3 months, that opened a lot of doors. And within 3 months after the launch of that campaign, my wife and I were presenting Walmart with this business plan I'd cooked up around a startup publishing company with sort of family accessible or family shareable content. It's not junior content, but it's teen content that grown-ups can enjoy and with their kids, and they can, they're coffee table comic books. They're meant to live on your coffee table, not be put in a box, meant for families to share, for uncles to share with nieces and nephews. It's those kinds of books that are, you know, appropriate for a large retailer like that. So that was our strategy on the content, which is the kind of content I want to make anyway. And we set about in 2019 building this company, creating our titles, The Futurist, Red Rooster, Bass Reeves, Nora's Saga, and then launched those titles in May of 2020 into Walmart stores, and have been doing that ever since. And it's been amazing. It's been an ordeal. It's been a learning experience. It's been, you know, kind of the ride of a lifetime, which will only get better. So I hope that brings you all up to speed.
Yeah, so that was kind of the big question I had for it, was the fact of like finding out you'd like launched this company is absolutely phenomenal, and the fact of like it grew so much during a period of like the pandemic when so many comic book companies were struggling. But like to find out that you'd gotten it into like Walmart stores across the country.
Yeah,
it's just a phenomenal. Like, I mean, like DC tried that not too long ago to get back into Walmart, and it bombed like horrifically. Nobody was buying them, but yet you're making a success being in there and selling in Walmart. Like, how? To put it bluntly, like, how did you pull that off?
Yeah.
Like, how did you make that work?
Did I pull it off? A lot. I mean, I was prepared for one. Like I spent hours and hours on the phone talking with artists and trying to gauge their interest in being involved in this potential thing. It was a lot of. Fortunately, we're in Arkansas, so that's where Walmart is stationed, and we lived 3 hours away from their headquarters. So I just knew some people that I met some people that knew, not Walmart people, but the people like the vendor reps, the people that have the connections to Walmart buyers and Walmart executives. And so I sort of worked my way up through several meetings and several pitches to finding enough people that were interested in what we were doing. So we had all the kind of the people there, the distributor, the vendor reps, interested investors, and just put all the components together, and then got a meeting with the books buyer at Walmart, and we prepared and prepared and prepared, and we're really very buttoned up and very organized, and we did a heck of a job. I'm very proud of what we accomplished, and
yeah, as you should
they
be.
said yes, and we were. I mean, and then we've been on the ride of a lifetime pretty much ever since. It's been something else.
I bought some. They're fantastic books.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I bought some of your books, and they're fantastic.
Thank you very much. You know, we gave them everything we had, right? I mean, if you're going to go, it was definitely a bold strategy to circumvent, and this is the time for bold strategies, in my opinion. So no matter what your avenue is, everything has changed in all of comics and all of the way the media is consumed. And we had a very a very interesting, bold strategy to go back into mass market retailers with a fan-friendly content piece that separated ourselves from our competitors, and not doing superhero books, sort of multi-genre universe books, and just we were bold and daring, and we're committed to delivering. Everybody we got involved with, every creator, they're very, very, we're so blessed to be working with like talented, great creators, and all of them are great people, and everybody put their best work in, and I felt like we went to market with really, really strong books, and we had to, like, it's like kind of the big stage. You can't really fail on the big stage, so we worked hard and delivered our best work.
Absolutely. And what's the response that you've kind of gotten from the community, like from Allegiance? Because
the response, well, I mean, it's comic books, so the responses can be varied. Most of them are extremely positive. People are very passionate about their comic books, and they will let you know exactly what they think about them. So that's just the nature of being a comic book creator, or a content creator in pretty much any medium. But yeah, the response has been really really great. I mean, it's been a privilege. It is a privilege.
That's awesome. And we do have one question in the chat that's popped up for you from the R2D2 for Life on YouTube. It said, are issue 4s going to be in print in Walmart in the near future? I saw the digital is available.
I think they are. We're in a temporary. We're figuring it out. So they should be, and Walmart expects them to be, and we're just crossed an unexpected hurdle. So they should be.
No problem.
I just don't have a date on them.
No, that's fine. I hope that works for you, R2. Hope that gives you a little bit of information. But yeah, and what were some of the major lessons and teachings that you learned then from your time at Marvel? Because you had the opportunity to work there and be essentially one of the big two companies, the biggest comic book company in the world. And, you know, most people would like get there and settle and say like, okay, I've made it to Marvel. This is me. I'm good. But like, what lessons did you learn from there, and it led to you of going into your own direction and doing it? And
lessons learned from working for Marvel. I think some of the biggest, some of these maybe. This is a lesson. Thankfully, I did not have to learn myself. Maybe a few times, but don't. Be professional. Don't be a gossip, and talk about fellow creators. It's a small business. Word gets around. It's not a good look. When the Twitter thing perplexes me beyond belief. That professionals get online and get into slugfest on the internet. That boggles my mind. So that's a lesson I learned by watching other people make mistakes, and maybe made a few myself. So always be professional, and deliver your best work. If you need more time, tell them.
I cannot support that answer strong enough. It's a fantastic answer, because we just talked about earlier in getting connected with everything. But at the same time, as we are getting connected with everything, there's always the best perfect man is that one who can control the tongue in this business. And I've seen so many times. I mean, and I also saw the turmoil that Mitch went through internet, the attacks and all that, because we go through that. I get attacked because I know somebody who knows somebody. It's like, oh, he's one of them, and so we got to be very careful We got to be as smart as a serpent and simple as a dog, like the good word says.
Yeah, honestly, that's great advice. You do have to be wise as a serpent. I mean, because it's choppy waters, and the creatives can be combustible sometimes. I mean, that energy is where all the exciting, great ideas come from, but it's also where a lot of like bad paths start too.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and people that make art and comic books and media or they thrive on that kind of energy. You just got to direct it the right way.
Absolutely. And the thing that's something that we're all going to face as creators in various mediums is that, you know, we're not always going to have a good time. We're all going to face some hardships, and, you know, but we just need to be wise to it. And, you know, kind of like as Sergio and Barry and stuff were talking about earlier, like just be led by God and be led by where Christ is taking us. And when he opens a door, follow that path, you know. And I'm glad that you followed that path, Mitch, and I'm glad he took you on a different route from there with, you know, out of Marvel and to the flourishing Allegiance, which, you know, which I'm not going to lie, I feel so behind the times. I found out about Allegiance and I'm like, wow, this company's doing some amazing stuff and I had no idea about it. Like, I need to get caught up with this. This stuff looks amazing.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And, you know, we're certainly very proud of it and very fortunate to work with amazing talents like David Williams and Kelsey Shannon and Butch Geis and more than I could count right now, but wonderful people. And everybody's putting forth their best work, which is I think a testament to what Elizabeth and I were fortunate enough to be able to do. Like everybody's inspired by their projects that they're working on, and they don't. It's a freelancer gig for them, but to watch my peers that I respect and artists that I love come in and just really lean into books that we help get off the ground and fund and find a path to retail for is it's just an honor.
Yeah, that's phenomenal to hear.
By the way, I want to tell Mitch, man, I love Bass Reeves, man. I mean, man, that's what got me into you. I'm not gonna lie. That I saw Bass Reeves. I know a little bit about the history, and yeah, man. Were you working with Kevin Grievous?
Grievous, yeah,
yeah. Because I noticed. I thought I saw an article where he was a part of that. So yeah, man. And more of that, please. Please, more Bass Reeves.
Yeah, it would. Right now, I don't have the follow-up story yet. The last thing I want to do with Bass Reeves, who is, if you don't know, he's a legendary American hero, and he was the first Black U.S. Marshal west of the Mississippi River. He had over 3,000 arrests. He patrolled the largest territory, the police territory in the United States at the time, and he was well-known figure in his day that was nearly forgot about, lost to time immemorial, but not anymore. I mean, I learned about Bass Reeves in 2013 and read his amazing sort of biography in a paper, and I was just like, okay, this needs to be a comic book, and I want to make it. It's just got everything it needs for a great comic book. Bass, if you I don't want to venture too far into spoilers, but the kicker for me for Bass, the story, what it's truly about, and Bass was a man of, we read some biographies. He was a man of a deep and abiding faith. What the story of Bass Reeves is about is a man and his commitment to the law and to duty in order to protect the frontier, the civilization, from really bad dudes that were essentially hiding out in Indian territory in the Badlands. He has to he basically sacrifices his own family to put himself between chaos and civilization. And in doing so, there's a story about a man who's committed to God and the law and righteousness and justice, but in the process, his own son, he has many children, one of his own sons becomes a murderer. And that to me was the central crux of the Bass Reeves story, and really was what makes him a really Odyssean and tragic figure in a lot of ways. And that's the story that we decided to explore in our rendition of his life, which is not a biography, but it's we were trying to be as accurate as possible while still making it an action-packed comic book that works within a comic book structure. But that's the crux of the narrative, and the one that we focused on, the life of it that we focused on. What I don't want to do with Bass Reeves is create Bass Reeves 2, the less interesting sequel, right? But as soon as we have like the story that is better than the one that we have now, I'm happy to get that going.
That's awesome. Like you just pitching that, they're like, yeah, I need to pick up this comic. 100%. I need to pick this up now. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, the art is incredible. David Williams is an old friend of mine, and he's just a phenomenal artistic talent. His page layouts are beyond amazing. He does stuff with shapes that will bend your mind. And he's just a great guy too.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal. And there was another one I wanted to ask about. I think it's the most recent one. You just started sending it out. I think someone in chat said they just received it yesterday. Is The Saints?
The Saints. Yeah. So that's our fifth title that we've launched, and we launched this one on Indiegogo and Kickstarter, sort of as a way to pre-fund a package for the series and create a special limited print run edition of this new book for us. And it's super cool. It's about an archaeologist because I love history, and my co-creator on that book is a big fan of history, and we love archaeology and anthropology and things like that. And it's a fun playground. This is our playground for history and archaeology. Follows an archaeologist named Jean-Marc Lapointe, who is a pariah of the establishment, right? He's a pop archaeologist, right? He writes books and makes headlines. He's great at promotions, but the academic establishment thinks he gets a reputation, right, as a grave robber, and maybe some earned and some not earned, as a hack, as a self-promoter, as a playboy, and a media hound. So, but he is ultimately a guy who's on the quest for the truth, and in being in a position like that, he's able to explore the fringes, right? So he goes to the margins where the academics can't go, and in that he starts to uncover a truth that would rewrite history as we know it. And in the process of this discovery, he's sabotaged and becomes a international criminal, like overnight, and is wanted. And then he's recruited he's nowhere left to run. He's recruited by a group called the Saints that is tasked with protecting humanity and humanity's story from a shadowy cabal of conspirators that are intent on controlling the narrative, and controlling the world, I guess. So that's the basic pitch. So it's much more. It's contemporary. It's action adventure, globe-trotting. So if that's in your wheelhouse, that's definitely the book for you. And beautifully illustrated by Christian Rosado.
Is that still available on Indiegogo?
Yes, it is still available. We have it's on Indiegogo. We've the campaign is fulfilled, but we're leaving it up for a little while to make some orders. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Mark put it in there. The Saints on Indiegogo.
Sounds awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds, honestly, the works that you're doing at Allegiance sound amazing, Mitch. Like they're sounding phenomenal, and I love as well that with just like 5 books, this is your 5th book in there. Like they're so different and so varied from each other, and it's like And it's something that I think a lot of people who are comic fans are clamoring for now. We're becoming a lot more aware. We've talked about it on our show that, it's like, as the comic book world is a lot more than Marvel and DC and superheroes. Like, if that's all you read, you are missing so many amazing stories.
Yeah.
And so many amazing genres. And it's amazing to see what Allegiance is doing. And it's phenomenal.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you noticed that, we made a very conscious decision not to compete with Marvel and DC on superheroes.
It's probably a smart move at this point.
As much as I love Batman and Spider-Man, I mean, I love them. They're I love them very much. I prefer to explore, untilled ground, right? So, I mean, I would rather go out and do something, find my own lane, find a lane that hasn't been traveled in a little while, that people might be really itching for and hungry for, and try to find those customers. And I think in some ways a little like manga, like the manga market, like they throw stuff against the wall,
Yeah, but that's in saying that as well. Like, it's not to say that you've not ventured into a kind of superhero-esque genre, and it was the last one I really wanted to majorly get you to mention, because it was kind of the beginning points of Allegiance started with this character, was Red Rooster.
Yeah.
And like, tell us a little bit about Red Rooster. How did that concept come around? And
so,
like, how do you vary him? Like you said, you don't want to compete with Marvel and DC, but you've got Red Rooster, who's clearly a superhero character. What did you do to make him his own thing and not compete on that level?
I'm glad you asked that question. So Red Rooster he's like, I call him Batman in a barn. Like, that's the simple thing. It's Batman in a barn. So just imagine what that could be. He doesn't have any superpowers. Nope. Maybe they're extraordinarily talented individuals in this, right? Unique, quirky characters. But it's Batman in a barn. No powers, just a guy with his wits who's crazy enough to wear a chicken costume and fight crime. So it's in the same way too that Batman is urban. If you distill Batman down to its core parts, it is urban, gothic, cape and cows, mysteries. All we did was switch the urban with southern. So we've got southern gothic, cape and cow mysteries. And no one's ever done it before. Ever. And so I drew this character, and we own it.
Nice.
So it started as a sketchbook drawing. Like, I just drew this character with a fin on his head and a red cape and these crazy wacky striped pants, like a Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket. And I wrote the name Red Rooster next to it, and I just couldn't stop drawing him. Like, it just became this character that danced around and jumped around in my sketchbooks. And it took a while for the full story to begin to materialize around this. I threw a lot of things on the idea board that didn't quite work out. I won't get into all the things that didn't work out. Those aren't important. And then after, I kind of hit like a critical point where I was like, okay, we need to do something. I really want to do one of these books and do a crowdfund, and let's see where this takes us. And I just woke up one morning with most of the bones for what the story would become. And I remember pitching Elizabeth all day long about it. She's just ready for me to move on to something else. But the whole thing where he's a hero who inherited a mantle, like the Phantom, right? That's passed down throughout the generations, but he was unprepared to deal with this secret, the Order of the Dawn, and be the Red Rooster and the bearer of the mantle. Since this is the dawn of mass media, the book takes place in the 30s, so Dust Bowl era.
Oh, nice.
Since this is the dawn of mass media, and he's this vigilante guy out here in a crazy costume, he becomes like a celebrity, like a folk hero. Essentially, he's a 1930s folk vigilante turned folk hero that's made nationally famous. And he's on the cover. He and his teammates are on the cover of cereal boxes and Wheaties, and they're the spokespeople for a cola brand. They're called Kapow Cola. It puts the zing in your pop. Yeah, it came up. Yeah, I love that's fun. Kapow Cola puts a zing in your pop. So he's at the height of his fame, and a cabal of his previous villains get together to leverage that that leverage his celebrity and as a weakness to bring him down on the national stage. And that all happens, or that is the setup for the bigger story. And the rest of the story, and it does, he becomes a pariah. He's wanted. He's a wanted man. He's lost everything. And the rest of Red Rooster, as it goes from here, is about a man who disappears for 5 years and comes back into town trying to pick up all the pieces. I'm pitching you now, I guess, where the story is going from where we left it off. But
hey, I'm all for it, man.
Strong Boy, who's his former right-hand partner, is now the sheriff of Big Town. And Frank comes back into town and finds that Strong Boy is the sheriff, and Frank or the Red Rooster is wanted. So his former partner's in a pretty nasty, conflict. Bad guys have really creeped into town, and they have major plans to run rampant on humanity. So they need the Red Rooster now more than ever since his absence. But he's a pariah in the media and a wanted man, and kind of everyone has turned their backs on him because they blame him for everything that went bad. But ultimately, through his celebrity, through the radio serials that they did about him, the complex nature of being a hero is distilled into like kind of simple marketing slogans, and the core idea of the Red Rooster and the Order of the Dawn is carried in the hearts of the super fans, right? So there's almost like an underground fandom for Red Rooster that pulls him back in to the fight, and that's where we're going with the story. So the lens is about this small town. It becomes much more of a show about these huge characters in a small town, almost like a Thursday night, early 90s, CBS television serial about a small town sheriff and a semi-retired vigilante running around his town. I mean, it becomes almost like a David Lynch kind of Twin Peaks type of deal. It'll be a lot of fun, and I'm super excited about where this is going.
That sounds
awesome.
That sounds really awesome. Like,
thank you.
Like, yeah, like I mean, like every single pitch of these books you're telling me from Allegiance, they all sound amazing, Mitch. And like 100%, I need to start getting into some of these series and checking them out. They sound amazing.
Well, thank you. You can go to our website, allegiancearts.com, please, and sign up for our mailing list. We have digital editions for everything we've released so far. That's all up there. You can check out digitals. And if some of our books are still in Walmart at this. Some of the episode 3 should still be in there. You can order all of our books on Walmart.com. So you can go to Walmart.com and order the books that we've published so far and get caught up if you want the physical copies.
Awesome. And I've thrown that link in the chat for everybody there as well. So go ahead and check those books out there. I do want to keep chatting about Allegiance. There's so many questions I've got, but I don't. We need to keep the panel moving a little bit. We do have a couple of giveaways, though, for some of the Allegiance stuff. If I can pull them up for this, I believe we have a Red Rooster giveaway. And we also have what was put down as a package giveaway. So I'm actually going to hand over to Mitch for these things. What are the giveaways for this? Because I don't know the full details of the Allegiance stuff that we're giving.
Okay, let's do a couple giveaways. That'd be fine. I have some signed copies of Red Rooster, but I'll also ship out a copy of the Saints and maybe some other goodies and swag. And we've got a lot of cool stuff laying around from campaigns, like trading cards. So we'll just load 2 packages up for 2 lucky winners,
Man.
and it'll be a goodie bag. Like it'll just
how do you put your name in here?
I was about to say I need to get in that.
I was going to say, like, okay, y'all in chat, I've been saying this since the start of this show, like that. You have no idea how much it kills me. I can't put my name in for this stuff. If you do not have your names in here, what is wrong with you? Get
Cross,
your name
nobody
down.
knows our real names, so I mean, I'm just saying.
This is true, actually. I can put my name in and nobody would know. You don't know how tempting that is. I am not going to lie. But we have got 2 Allegiance package giveaways that we are going to do, and we're going to draw names right now. Guys, get your names down for it now. Get your names. terminusmedia.com/events. Last chance. Get a smallish in chat there. I know your name, Cross. Stop telling my secrets. All right, but we are going to pull some names. So last chance to get your name in for one of these. I'm going to start just drawing. Let me pull our wheel up. All right, so first winner of one of the Allegiance packages is going to be Stacy Bradshaw.
All right. Woo! Stacy.
Lucky.
I love that we're getting there. We're getting more enthusiastic with the clapping. What's going on? So let me write Stacy's name down. All right, first one's gone. Oh, there we go. Ron, you come getting your name in there. Let me add you on quickly, Ron. Anyone else? Last chance to get your name down for one of the Allegiance packages. Get it done now. 3, 2, 1. It's your chance. We're going.
No.
Stacey's not getting 2. I'm redrawing.
You can give that one to me.
Okay. There are 76 names on this wheel. How is it possible? Name twice.
Oh my god.
We are going to draw that one more time. See if it's a Stacey Bradshaw again. Something's rigged. Lekka Toller. I apologize if I'm completely butchering that name. But Lekka, you are the winner of the other
All right.
Dominion pack or Dominion Allegiance package. Dominion's the other giveaway. You know what I'm doing, honest. Thank you so much, Rich, for coming, for talking to us today about Allegiance, for the prizes, for the giveaway. We greatly appreciate it. We would love you to stick around as we keep the panel going. You're not adhered to stay here, though. If you need to go, if you need to disappear, I know you're stuck in your car in the middle of nowhere stealing Wi-Fi to be with us today. So if you have to take off, by all means. That's why I wanted to try and get all your stuff like what we could before something happened. And
well, I appreciate it. I'll hang out for a little while longer, and then I'll send you guys a chat when I'm ready to slip
awesome.
out.
Absolutely. Whenever you need to
Mitch.
take off, sir, you take off. Thank you so much for that. And
well, thank you very much.
That was phenomenal to hear. And just while I'm posting stuff in chat, let me do this. I meant to do this before Daryl left as well for his. But if you want to follow with Allegiance on any of its social media or its important links pages, here we go. I'm going to chuck them in chat. Go and find everything you need to on Allegiance, and then I'm going to throw stuff up as well for Daryl and for Matt, who's still with us, sitting quietly up in the corner there with his nice smile, just showing off.
Just hanging out. It's great.
He's very, very well behaved.
Yes, he's a very well behaved gentleman up in the
By
corner.
the way,
Today.
Sergio, I saw your dog come in. Is she okay now?
Seems to be, yeah.
Awesome.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Awesome.
I haven't had a chance to talk to my wife about it, but she was looking good. So
Well,
awesome.
good. Answers to prayers.
yes.
Yeah, I'm glad she's doing okay. For anyone who came in late, we were worried that Sergio's dog might have some bad news going on and she wasn't doing well, but she came in and greeted us all, so she seems to be doing pretty good now.
Yeah.
So we are so grateful for that.
Yes.
So we are going to transition over. I'm actually going to transition over to the gentleman in the top left corner, our other nice, quiet gentleman who's been sitting patiently, to Mr. Barry Cook.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
That's fascinating. I know some comic books I'm asking for Christmas.
There you go.
There you go. Barry Cook's buying your comics, Mitch. Can't get much better than that at this point, really. But Barry, we've obviously got a chance to talk to you earlier on, talk a lot about your work with Disney and the amazing stuff that you did there. Want to give you the opportunity if you want to go in depth in any more of that stuff and about your experiences there, but we also want to delve into the stuff that you are currently working on and a lot of the stuff to do with the Jesus Film project, which we've not had a chance to talk about yet.
I'd love to talk a little bit about that. I came to after Disney closed its studio here in Florida, is where I was employed in 2004, the same time the Australian studio closed, and one in Paris and one in Tokyo, by the way. But around the same time, within 4 or 5 months of each other. I had met my wife and I had supported the Jesus Film project because I always loved the idea of telling the story of Christ through film and spreading the story that way. And so we were just, your average supporter of that ministry project. And so I began meeting some people here, and they moved their world headquarters to Orlando from California, just before that time. So I got to know some of the people, Jim Green, especially there, Irv Clacius, who's produced the 3 short films. But I just sort of had a notion of you've got this movie that was released by Warner Brothers originally in 1979. It's almost like a biopic of Jesus. It was narration and sort of a little, and today looking back, maybe a little bit of a boring film, but a very based on the book of Luke and very accurate biblically in that regard. But my idea was, well, one of the big things in making animation is all the, recording all the dialogue, getting the cast together and getting all your actors. And I said, you've got this movie. I said, what if you took this dialogue content and made new animation content with it, or use it as a basis for new animation content? Completely reinvent the visuals. And at the time, I was really into manga myself and into anime, Japanese anime in sort of a big way. And my favorite movie of all time is Millennial Actress by Satoshi Kon, one of the great anime directors. But I said, if we do a film, we can't just a bunch of Americans fake making a Japanese movie. We've got to get Japanese filmmakers involved. So although I did, sketch out the screenplay, did a lot of the storyboarding, worked with some friends I'd worked with at Leica, a good Christian brother there, to do some storyboarding on it. I was in England at the time working for Aardman, but after hours we worked on a short film we called My Last Day, and I mentioned a little bit as the point of view of the last day alive of the thief who was the repentant thief who was next to Christ on the cross. So that's his story, and sort of it's an 8-minute film. We also did a flashback, maybe the crime that put him on the cross. Totally fictional, but likely something along those lines, a robbery that where he stabbed a man who ended up dying. But so anyway, we got in contact with Studio 4C in Tokyo, which is a phenomenal animation studio there. And they raised the money to do a budget. And once I had sort of done the pre-production, and then I stayed on approving character designs, but then I just said, look, you guys make this your film. The amazing part about it was the animators all bought Bibles. Now, if you know anything about Japan and Christianity, the two don't mix very well at all. So very few Christians there. But all the animators, the first question they had was this a real person? This Jesus guy? And they're like, yeah, I mean, that was their question. And you're like, yeah, he's real. And there's lots of books written about, can we get the, so they all went out and bought Bibles. Now, I don't know what came out of that, and I don't know what will come out of that for eternity, but I know that all the animators down in Japan were like digging into the life of Christ because they wanted to get into the story, right?
That's so cool.
So it's been, it's right now it stands as, I think, it's not in the Guinness Book of World Records, but it's the animated film that's been translated in the most languages of any animated film in the world ever.
Oh, wow.
Probably around 250 at this point, maybe close to 300 languages. I mean, the big studios, when they do their films, they may do 26, 32 top languages maybe, but all sorts of languages. And that's really just using that big vault of worldwide languages that were done for the Jesus film. So it's all biblical content in terms of what the characters are saying from the book of Luke. And so that was anime, 2D anime, and we said, well, maybe, and it was a pretty high budget for that film. 8 minutes, I think we animated about 8 or 9 minutes, and then we began doing developing another project, which was ended up with the title Legion, but it's about the demon-possessed man whose the spirits were driven out by Jesus into the pigs. So that was the second, and we did that CG. And here locally, with a fledgling little animation studio and a really minuscule budget, you know, we look at it and say, man, we wish a lot of it could be a lot better in terms of the art, in terms of everything. But we did what we did, and again, that film has now been, it's been dubbed into many languages, and there's getting huge response around the world from these, but because people are, there's a lot of Christian content and short snippets, little things people can watch on their iPhones and things, and this really fits the bill. That film was about 4.5 minutes long, and then the last one that was just released this past Easter that we worked on, we called Chosen Witness, which is Mary Magdalene's story, basically. And we took two films, dialogue from 2 different films that Jesus film had done, Magdalena and the Jesus film, and we used dialogue from both. And of course, for English version, we overdubbed some parts with different actors or something that's more suited to the design of the character, perhaps. But again, the same fledgling studio here in Orlando, but they're getting a little better. A lot of them were students and things like that. So I really can't announce what we're up to next, but I can probably say I've written a screenplay for the Jesus film for a feature-length thing. We'll see what happens in the future, but Lord willing, that would be a great project to continue on. So we're doing some work on that still right now. So and all those projects, all those short films are available through the Jesus Film app, which you can download on your phone anywhere in the world. JesusFilm.org. You can find those films there, and many other films, a lot of other live-action short films.
For anyone watching, I have put the links into chat for that, for JesusFilm.org and for the YouTube links.
And they're all there. I think they're all on YouTube also.
Yeah, I put the links in there.
And the nice thing about those films,
you can go with them.
Yeah. The mothership crew and Jesus Film Project, they're not looking to monetize anything, so they're more than willing to just put it everywhere they can find it, and they don't care. We had, and speaking of Brazil, Sergio, we had a Brazilian worship leader put a worship song Against My Last Day, and he got over 30 million views.
Wow!
Oh wow!
Amazing animation, just with his worship song playing behind it instead of the dialogue, or maybe the dialogue was still playing, but and there's like a live recording. I don't know who he was. Nobody knows who he was, and nobody cares because, the more the merrier. So spread it around and use it any way you want, because that's just the whole idea behind those projects. And all those projects are donor based. Donors specifically giving money to make those specific films. It doesn't come out of a bigger pool of funds. It's finding the donors that are interested in this kind of content. So it's been great. It's been it's been great, and me going, I feel like, into my retirement years, a great way to spend for me. Use my skills and my know-how to just continue to stay active and also stay pretty close to home right now. So it's great.
Awesome.
That's phenomenal, and that's in the projects, and I've seen them as well. Like when I found out we had you coming on, I went to YouTube and checked out the short films that you've done with Jesus Film Project, and they're phenomenal. They're so well done, and I'm excited to see what you can do with a feature length one, and obviously you can't give any details on it, but I'm excited to see what else is to come in any future projects with the Jesus Film Project. It's an amazing pool for creators coming together to tell biblical stories and different versions, different animation styles. Like you said, like all 3 of them are completely different styles from one another.
Right.
There's an amazing array of talent that's on display with the Jesus Film Project, and from yourself in your videos as well. If I may say, Barry, you're definitely
Dominic Cariello, who I worked with at Disney for years. He's usually working as a director through production of those short films, and I'm really on the front story end heavy heavy on the story and heavy on the visualization, what the films should look like and what they should feel like, and just that whole part of it. So
it's absolutely phenomenal. And do you have any other projects coming up? I know you kind of mentioned briefly, I don't know if you can go into detail about it, of stuff coming up with you're working on with Daniel, for example.
No, this is, we hope to have this time. I don't have anywhere to announce it yet or any place to check it out, but we will be launching a campaign of sorts. It's an audio play, and part of it was inspired by COVID lockdown. I had written a screenplay. I'd written a screenplay after my father died that was really a cathartic story. It was a ghost story, but it was really cathartic and just dealing with death and grief and different things and sort of memories from childhood, and one character is an artist and a painter that does portraits, and it's I would say it's sort of almost like a dark comedy, but it's sort of funny. It's sort of got some funny bits to it. And it's like watching a movie with your eyes closed. I mean, that's really what it is. It's a movie with no visuals. You just listen to it, and we're trying to just bring out the whole detail of the environment through sound. And for me, it's like a real stretch because I've always been all about visuals, but to do a story this way, and it's been a lot of fun. It's got some music in it, one original song in it that we just recorded in Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and I actually just laid down the vocal tracks last Saturday. And so it's my own project, completely funded out of my own pocket, and just so I don't know if it can be a business or not, but it's just a story that I was compelled to tell.
That's awesome. Amazing. That's absolutely awesome, and it definitely sounds like something worth checking out once it comes out. I look forward to hearing more details on that as well.
It's called The Happy Place. That's the title of it, The Happy Place.
Can we give them the setting too?
The setting is in rural Tennessee in an old farmhouse. It was sort of written to be a low-budget feature film, so almost the way you would set up a horror movie. Most of it takes place inside of one house.
Nice.
And it's a young man who's hitchhiking his way to Woodstock in 1969.
So the soundtrack and everything, it's pretty fun.
And he meets a young portrait artist, a very attractive young lady who's a portrait artist, whose husband is a Vietnam vet who ain't quite right in the head and ends up killing him. And he becomes a ghost in his house. He becomes a ghost stuck in his killer's house. Yeah, so it's a bit nuts, but it raises a lot of questions about life, death, and the afterlife especially. So we go there.
That's phenomenal. That sounds like such an intriguing story. It really does. Definitely check that one out. That sounds like really quite a cool story, actually.
Yeah, it's funny. Ghosts have always been part of for some reason, the first movie I ever made as a 10-year-old was a 3-minute version of Dickens' Christmas Carol.
Oh.
And of course we had Ghost in Mulan, which was sort of one of my big ideas, for that movie. And the last movie I was working on at Disney that did not get made, one of its working titles was A Few Good Ghosts. So I've always been intrigued by ghosts, and I think it's probably just cultural. I grew up in that part of Tennessee, and my grandmother and that side of the family, they always told a lot of stories, but they always, the ghosts were always part of their stories. And so it's a sort of a cultural thing, my roots,
No, that is absolutely phenomenal. That's really interesting, actually, that it's became like a reoccurring thing for you. That it's became a reoccurring thing.
I didn't really realize it until very recently. After I wrote this, I sort of said, wait a minute. I've been trying to tell ghost stories forever. Yeah, there's a big ghost in the bottom of that point. I've been wanting to, I've been I don't know, a lot of my stuff has had ghosts in it. It's crazy. But the way it is. Some things you just get, it's subconscious, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, it must be just something connected with you at some point with that, and it's just resonated through your work since then.
Yeah.
Even in your short film Legion, which is the one of the 3 that we're talking about there, you get the exorcism of the demon possessed guy.
Yeah.
It's done very, very interestingly too. If you guys haven't seen it yet, you should definitely check it out.
Pretty amazing.
I was going to tell you, Barry, my youngest daughter, actually, I asked her to make me a Bible bookmark, one for me to use in my Bible the other day. So she grabbed the markers out, and I said, draw me anything you want from the Bible. And this is what she came up with. Jesus casting the demons into the pigs and throwing them in the water. So
childhood favorites.
So I'm pretty sure that's thanks to watching Legion the other day.
Oh man,
no pigs were injured during that scene, right there.
Awesome. Those three films, My Last Day is not for kids. It's really a bloody, very violent anime film. Legion is more intense. The short film Chosen Witness, I think, is more of a general audience sort of film. Although there is a depiction of the crucifixion, but it's not quite as, like Daniel was saying earlier. We sort of put the camera in a more strategic place during some of that, for just for the sake of the audience it was intended for. So
that is awesome. I'm so excited to see more of these projects coming from you, Barry. Thank you so much as well for coming on and talking with us about this today.
Pleasure.
And for our chat, we also have some giveaways from Barry as well, and we have some giveaways of a signed DVD of Disney's Mulan and a signed DVD of Arthur Christmas, the Christmas movie that he was co-director on. So we're going to be giving these away right now. We're going to be pulling some names. So again, last chance to get names in for these, and we're getting less and less giveaways. So getting in now is probably a really good idea. So,
which I have to say, Barry, that Mulan is probably my household's favorite Disney movie.
Mine too. We just got watching it myself.
We just got back from Epcot, and they were showing footage of it, during their firework show. And when she cuts her hair, when she cuts her hair for the battle, my wife lost it. So yeah.
I want to take this. Imagery. I want to take a moment to ask Barry. Barry, what did you think of the live action remake?
Well, it's a totally different character. We tried to show a ordinary girl thrown into a very overwhelming circumstance, and her fighting with every fiber of her being, trying to survive the thing. Whereas in the new movie, it's more of a character who has an inner magic power that she has to discover. Right. That's a whole different character. It's a really different story. I went to the world premiere. I was invited to the world premiere, the March when COVID started, the March of year before. Yeah. So, and I think it was the Hollywood Super Spreader event. There were a lot of actors who had just come from China, and it was right in March there. And I enjoyed the movie a lot, but yeah, I think it's a very, very different character. So in that terms, you guys all know it's a very different story when the character drives the story. So it's, but I really had nothing to do with the live action other than it was based on work that I'd previously helped author and do. So.
By the way, Barry, Arthur Christmas is my favorite Christmas movie.
Yeah, that was sure. I was very fortunate. Sarah Smith was the director on it, and she invited me on it. They needed a co-director, and I was able to go to and work at Aardman for a year. So it was phenomenal for me, just a dream come true. And Pete Bainham, her co-writer, should get a lot of credit for that movie. He's just a comic genius, works a lot in Hollywood on a lot of comedy movies. But yeah, so it was fun. It was great fun.
Awesome.
That's awesome. All right, let's go ahead and do this first giveaway then. I think the guys have all chatted and gave you plenty of time if you want to get in on this. So first draw, and this is going to be for the signed Mulan DVD. And our winner is William Brooks.
Right, William.
Congratulations, William, on winning that signed copy of Mulan.
Oh, I'm jealous, William. I'm very jealous.
I'm jealous.
It's not really fair.
No, it's not.
Just saying that's what I found out about what all the giveaways were. All right, and right into the second one then. I'll just double check there's no extra names for the signed copy of Arthur Christmas.
Just in time for Christmas.
Yeah, just in time. No, go away. I don't want to review your app. Really? Really, right in the middle of it. We almost made it 3 hours before it asked me to rate it.
We're having a panel here.
Sarah Marion, you have won the copy of Arthur
Sarah.
Christmas.
Delayed applause.
Nice.
All right. Thank you so much, Barry, for that opportunity to just to just hear about it, like, it's just amazing. Like this, like, guys, we have talked a lot about Barry's career during this panel as much as we can. We've not even touched most of it. There's so many things we have not had the opportunity to talk about. This man has got such a storied career, and it's absolutely just look into some more of the stuff he's done. I mean, and keep an eye out on the stuff from the Jesus Film Project. We will be happily keeping an eye on them and to see what amazing work keeps coming out from there. But all right. So we're getting messages from Sarah. She's like, people are getting her caught up with the fact that she just won something. All right. So, I don't want one last opportunity to kind of chat. I know we got a lot of his story earlier on today, and I'm not gonna lie, like, it's Sergio. We got most of Sergio's story earlier on today, which was absolutely phenomenal. I think he answered most of my questions before I got a chance to ask half of them. Telling about his time working with Marvel and DC and getting into the Action Bible and stuff. And it's like, which I'm not going to lie, I'm not complaining in the least. I could sit and listen to the man talk about his career for hours. But Sergio, we're going to do a giveaway for some of your items. Let me pull you in the middle there. And for some of your pieces, I just wanted the chance to chat a little bit as well. And we have a signed Action Bible that we're going to be giving away. And I don't even have the picture pulled up. I should have had it pulled up and stuff for today. But we're giving away an original art piece that Sergio done of Batman. Which I
hold it up, man.
Yes,
he's got it there.
Oh.
Okay.
I feel the need to say this to everybody. Like, I watched the video of Sergio inking this, and like he inked this in like 14 minutes. I mean, with a brush.
Yeah, I'd like to point out,
it's incredible.
That wasn't done digitally. He done this with an ink brush. I got the chance to watch him do it live on Facebook last night, and was completely in awe of watching this man. Because like I got sent the picture of the sketch, and I thought, that's amazing. That'll be an amazing giveaway. And then I got to watch the man actually ink it in front of my eyes, and I'm like, it's just not fair how talented some people are. It's really not.
You guys are lucky that you've never had to do an art battle against him. I had to do an art battle against him back in 2015, and he was just wiping the floor with me. It was embarrassing.
I'm not gonna lie, Matt. If I had to do something like that against Sergio, I literally just put my pen down and just walk away like I'm done.
Next time that happens, can you film it?
I think that should be hour 4 of the live stream here.
Yeah.
Rematch.
I was gonna get both of them.
It's not a giveaway, but I did a
yes, this morning.
There's the man.
Oh, man.
There's the man.
What?
Okay, I need to mention this. I was getting stuff ready for the stream today, so I was on Facebook and I saw Sergio went live. I went over to his Facebook page, and this man is just casually just inking Spawn. As if it's nothing, as if it's the most chill thing he's ever done in his life, and making it look that phenomenal. And I'm like,
thank you.
It's nuts.
And I'm not gonna lie, I literally in chat almost asked him like, how much is it for that piece? Like, how much is it? Like, not for myself, actually, for Nitro, because Nitro is a massive Spawn fan. Like, and I saw that piece and I'm like, that piece is probably worth more than I could ever afford, and the talent that is going into that. It's like, Sergio, you are like very, very gifted and talented man. We covered most of the questions that we had, which
I think I'm not sure if you covered it earlier, but I was talking with my daughter earlier, my older daughter, and she was asking, because I think we read about how young you were when you started drawing, and then when you started getting published. Is that right, Sergio?
Yes, yeah. I was 11 when I created this Frederico the Detective, and I had no idea about producing stuff. So I drew it to size with a magic marker on a copy paper, with no eraser, no pencil. I have no idea how I was able to. I don't even know how I was able to do that. So I wrote the letter and everything, and it looked half decent for 11 years old. I was published weekly, and I remember going to school and people asking, "What's going to happen to Federico?" I said, "I'm going to tell you. You're going to have to read it next week."
Wow, that is hilarious.
But I was 11, and my mother worked in a bank. That this guy Paulo Craveiro, he was a columnist for the newspaper of Pernambuco, Brazil, and he knew of this lady called Lloyd. We called her Lola, and she was in charge of the children supplement of comic strips. So my Frederico was published right along Flash Gordon, Phantom, Prince Valiant. It was amazing for me to see that at 11. And then the same columnist hired me to do caricatures of political figures, and he paid me for it, and it was published on a different section of the newspaper. But that was my first experience. Then later I learned all these guys, they drew twice up. They actually used pencils to do sketches first, and then do them big, and then they would reduce it to make it look better. I said, oh, I didn't know that. And they actually used an eraser. And when I was in Australia, because of the Action Bible, I remember that I signed 600 Action Bibles there. And I was teaching the kids to draw. And the teacher said, Sergio can draw without a rubber. And I had no idea what he was talking about. What are you saying? I can draw without a rubber. What is a rubber? It's an eraser. That's what Australians call a rubber. It's an eraser. So, okay.
We're trying to fix that.
I was going to say, it's like, yeah, it's like we get that as well. That was one of the issues that came to the States, was like calling it a rubber. It's like, that's something else here.
Not what it is in America.
Nope.
Sorry on behalf of Australia.
And by the way, I love your steak too. I mean, I just had Aussie grill owned by Outback in International Plaza, and Australian. And as a Brazilian, I can tell you that the meat is delicious.
Oh man, now I'm hungry.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sergio.
So as well as I've done with everyone else for all the chats, I'm throwing up some links there for Sergio, for his professional website, for his Twitter, his Instagram, his Facebook, his YouTube. All his stuff's up there. You can follow Sergio on pretty much any platform. So go ahead and follow this man. Especially follow him on Facebook if you've got it, and you'll be getting videos like I've been watching the last 2 days of this man live, just sketching. But
I want to say,
I must say something. I'm sorry.
I want to see what Sergio's 11-year-old picture was like.
Yes, we need to see that.
Yeah, like 11-year-old
Sergio. Just Google Frederico the Detective by Sergio Cariello. It will probably pop up. But I must tell you that when I was doing the Action Bible, I was drawing the Action Bible simultaneously. I was drawing the Lone Ranger for Dynamite, and I was drawing Son of Samson for Zonovan. So I was quite busy during that time, and I had my wife help me spot out the blacks. But I was drawing like 20 plus pages, pencils and inks of the Lone Ranger a month, 27 pages producing pencils and inks by myself, and 7 colors and 3 letters helping me out. And I did the Son of Samson I pencil and ink that. It was a 50-page a month, written by Gary Martin. So I was quite busy. So I know that Jack Kirby is the fastest pencil that ever was. But at one point in my life, by God's grace, I was pretty fast for producing over 100 pages of pencils and inks a month.
Dang. That's nuts.
Wow. That's insane.
Oh my gosh.
I was going to say, it's like, yeah, as a Jack Kirby's the fastest, you're definitely giving him a run for his money, though. Coming after the king with that time, that's nuts, Sergio.
Mm-hmm. Good night.
That is phenomenal. And then I just had a legit personal question, and it's like, of all the characters, like you worked with so many DC characters, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Who has been your favorite, like, character to draw, to work on, story to work on? Because between working with Marvel, with DC, with Dynamite, with CrossGen, with so many companies, what has been one of your favorites to work on?
I would say that with the Marvel Universe, Spider-Man, in the DC Universe, Batman, and Lone Ranger for Dynamite, and Jesus for David C. Cook.
Good answer. Good answer for the last one. Yeah, which, by the way, massive shout out. We've not talked a lot about his work on the Lone Ranger for Dynamite Entertainment. One of the lesser known ones because of it being an indie book, but he was on that book for many, many years and was nominated for an Eisner Award for that book as well. So
That's
I just
right.
want to point that out there. This
some phenomenal work. Yeah, that's some phenomenal work with the Lone Ranger. I have to give that to you.
Yeah, like the book doesn't get enough credit compared to some of the other stuff, but it's phenomenal. Some of the pages for the Lone Ranger are just gorgeous.
Amazing.
Thank you. That was a fun project, and I wish that when Disney did the movie, that they followed somewhat the Lone Ranger that I drew, because the movie was completely different from the Lone Ranger that I did.
There we go. Got a fan in chat that's a fan of the Lone Ranger work.
Actually, that last comment was from Hootsie, who is the Samson sculptor, and he's from Brazil. Yeah, he's from Brazil as well. He's so happy to have a Brazilian on the show.
these Brazilians, and they can't hold them up. They are popping everywhere.
We got a lot of great Brazilian contacts. I'm telling you right now, you guys are just killing it. Seriously.
I know, man.
I'm going to say this is all sorts of an international panel. I'm just saying, we've got people from all over the place just stopping in here. This is nuts.
All right.
But thank you so much, Sergio, for coming, and thank you for sharing with us today. It has been such a pleasure, sir. I'm not gonna lie. I'll be honest. Like, Sergio's the guy I was fanboying the most about meeting today. I'm an absolute massive fan of Sergio's, and it's been an utter pleasure just listening to the man talk today. But guys, if you have not signed up for these giveaways, like, legitimately, you have no idea how much I want to take everyone's name out of this and just oh, look, nobody entered, it's just me for this piece.
Oh, they all got erased somehow.
Yeah, like, oh, we all got erased. I can't remember who's in it. I guess I'll just have to win. Like, we have 79 names now signed in. We're going to do, first of all, I'm going to completely build tension here. Let's do the signed action Bible first, because, I love making people hate me for stuff like that. Let's throw it up. Ooh. And the winner of that,
nice,
Ivan and Naya, one of our friends from Mercy Way Studios.
And he's also from Brazil, right?
Another Brazilian.
My goodness.
If you haven't seen Ivan's work, definitely check it out.
He's a beast too.
Yeah, Mercy Ways, and Brainy Pixel, and all those guys. They're going to be on our next Christians in Comics and Animation, actually. So,
all right. So that's Ivan, and then this one. This is it. If you've not got your name down for it, this is your last chance to get in for the Batman piece.
Now, how many sign up for the Batman piece?
Everyone still gets an opportunity at it, but we have had one more name, so there are 80 people in contention for this. And about how many of us are left in chat here that aren't allowed to sign up that also want to be in? Scotty Lamb, you are the winner of that Batman piece.
Nice.
You're all utterly jealous.
Scotty, I hate you.
Yes.
I don't even know
hate you, but I love you. Jesus loves you, but I hate you.
And I was humbled to be among all you greats over here. I mean, amazing. I mean, Barry, gee,
good to meet you.
Your resume is amazing. And to listen to you, to listen to all of you today, I think, man, what an opportunity. If nobody knew about today, they certainly should hear about what everyone had to say today and learn a lot from all these people. If they want to get inspiration for becoming fruitful in whatever they do. And I was humbled to be among you guys. Truly amazing moments.
Yeah, we thank
you
so
Sergio.
much.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah,
can't thank you for your time enough, man.
Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone who's been part of this today. I'm not gonna lie, this has been mind blowing today to be part of this. We still have the last couple of guests to talk to who, let's say, we're saving the best for last.
Yeah,
can't leave last guys in here from Terminus in last, to wrap up with these guys. But we are, of course, going to chat a little bit with Dr. Baron Bell, who was probably the hardest person in the world for me to write questions for this, because he's been on our show like 4 times at this point. Yeah. And I'm like, what the heck do I even ask Luke Baron at this point? Like, the guy's been with us for so long. And then, of course, Daniel Hancock, who I think for about a week I was advertising on our stuff as Daniel Hitchcock. Take that as you will.
It could be worse.
He's a creator in the movies and playwright.
Awesome. It could
I'll take that. That's fine.
Like, I literally one day just thought, wait, is it Hitchcock? Is it Hancock? Have I been saying that wrong for like a week? Like, yes. And it wasn't like I hadn't said your name before that. I'd been saying Hancock for ages, and just all of a sudden, like, boom, blank, went to Hitchcock. of course, we want the opportunity to talk to you guys about one of the comics that just, I think, really opened the door for us. And we have to thank you at Comics in the Cross, because it was one of our first massive ventures into talking to comic creators and connecting with the Christian comic creators, was Dominion Fall of the House of Saul. It is a book that legitimately blew my mind reading it. And I think I've said it to you before, Baron, and then I've said it, countless times since. Like, I grew up as a comic book fan.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up as a comic book fan, and being a comic book fan and a Christian did not mix. Christians, especially stuff based on biblical teachings, on stories from the Bible, they were crap when I was growing up in the 90s. In all honesty, like, they were awful. Like, you would pick stuff up in my local Christian store, and they were horrifically bad.
Yeah,
they were so bad. Like, I pick it up and I'm like, nope. Like, I want something that's tangible, that I can pick up and go, this is just as good as Marvel and DC. I want to read it on that level. And that's exactly the feeling I got from picking up Dominion Chapter 1. And I've had the honor of talking to you about all 3 chapters of it. Obviously, you, Baron, are the creator of Dominion. Daniel, you're a co-writer on the book as well. And it's just phenomenal. And what's the response been like to Dominion so far? Because now that all 3 chapters are out, the volume 1 is now coming out. The Indigo goes up, it's literally dropping. Which, by the way, just to shout out to everybody, get your orders in for that today. We're going to be giving away 1 more copy of it, but if you get your orders in today, it's your last chance to get it by Christmas. Get it as a Christmas gift today. Go to the store, pick it up. Go to the Indigo page, pick it up, get a copy of it. You don't want to miss this amazing story, which after 3 chapters is just getting started.
Yeah.
So what has the response to it been like for Dominion, and what's happened since its launch?
Man, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. I mean, it has been kind of like a labor of love, and I can't help but to just give thanks and praise to the Lord for just inspiring it, but also, allowing my publisher Mark with Terminus to actually see the vision behind it, and that we wanted to do something that combined our loves. I love Star Wars. I love robots. I love all sorts of things comic related. I love Disney. I love all sorts of different stuff. So it's like to be able to take all that stuff and then also take my love for the Bible. I'm a huge kind of Bible nerd, Bible history nerd, and so I was always kind of like just enamored by this kind of the story of the founding of the nation of Israel. But looking at it from the story of King Saul, because we often just kind of skip over Saul and go to David, because like, oh yeah, David, But it's like, no, it actually started with Saul, who was a very kind of a complex character, very, very flawed individual. And I like that. I like complicated. And so it's like, he wasn't just this maniac king. No, he was a very flawed king, but he had, his intentions that, were not necessarily aligned with God's. But, everyone what's the old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I mean, you start out and you have good intentions, and sometimes that just doesn't work out. But, Dominion is a story about war, and it's about family. It's about a relationship with a king, with the king with his family, and king with God. We call God the Almighty in our story, and it's a story of a son, Jonathan, who seeks his father's approval, but will never get it because he's a narcissist. Unfortunately, many of us, have that experience where someone in your life who just can't connect with empathy. And unfortunately, that's the story of Saul. And so, it's just something I think that, and to answer your question about how the response we've been getting, it's been overwhelmingly positive because we've been able to connect with our audience on a lot of different levels, not just Christian wise. I have a twin brother, believe it or not, who is complete opposite of me. If anything, we're kind of like Romulus and Remus. And so it's like, he's not a Christian. As a matter of fact, he completely atheist, but he picked up Dominion, and he kind of like what Sergio was saying about the quality. I mean, if it's a good quality book with good quality art and good quality story, people, you can't deny that.
Yeah.
So they'll pick it up and they'll read it, and they'll get something out of it, and hopefully Jesus will plant a seed that will spawn later. But another thing is, in our books, we have a study guide at the end of every book, which kind of ties the story back to the Bible. And so, in a way, if you will never pick up a Bible, you will actually have picked up the Bible when you read Dominion. And so we really we love it because we get responses from pastors, youth leaders, homeschoolers, and just comic book geeks. Saved, unsaved, just comic book geeks. I have had some of my best conversations with unsaved comic book nerds because they just love the art of storytelling, the art of the craft. And it's just been a wonderful thing. Jesus gets the glory all around.
That's awesome. It's phenomenal that it's had such an amazing reach. But that it's had such a phenomenal reach and capacity to that. And like you said, it's presenting the gospel in that way, just presenting the Bible story in that way, presenting teaching in that way is like, it gives a completely different take on it.
Yeah.
Because people aren't like put off as like, it's like you don't look at it and automatically see a Bible story. Yet if you know the story of Saul, it's very clearly his story. It's very clearly a retelling of that, and it's a very phenomenal like gateway for that to open up to like, hey, there's more stories like this.
Well, I mean, this story could easily be Game of Thrones. This story could easily be Lord of the Rings. It could easily be The Witcher. It could easily be any of those things. Easily, you can put it on the shelf right next to any of those books, and someone would pick it up and initially just see intergalactic story with anthropomorphic characters.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Like it's been said a couple of times here today. Like I know for Cross and I, growing up as comic book fans, we didn't really have a ton of material. Who happened to be Christians, we didn't have a ton of material that we thought maybe was up to par with the big two that we're producing. That we could be like, this is our stuff. This is our thing. So having like Christian based content now that meets or even exceeds what other secular companies are doing I think it's crucial, because I think we as Christians should be, again, it was mentioned earlier today, but we should be producing the best stuff.
Well, that's what Barry said.
Yeah.
Our Jesus is the creator of all of this stuff. All of it, entertainment, everything. Listen, there is nothing new under the sun. You know what I'm saying? The biblical story of good versus evil has been carried down through storytelling for millennia ad infinitum. There's nothing new. And so we as Christians cannot run away from this stuff. I think we have shunned the entertainment industry. We have pigeonholed Christians into this little niche corner that really doesn't have very much influence outside of just Christians.
It's kind of what Cross and I were talking about earlier, actually kind of subculture-y. We retreating back, into the realm of the church and the Christian media, and with the amount of Christian movies and stuff coming out now, and all the entertainment stuff that can be strictly Christian and for Christians. I see a lot of creators kind of backing into that, and staying in that space, when most of the people on this panel today have actually been the types that were Christians themselves, but have worked in the industry and influenced all of those larger projects, and created things in the wider space.
And it's about the work. It's about the craft. It's about putting. I think a lot of times as Christians we put the cart before the horse. We want to tell message so much that the quality of the artwork kind of is lagging, and we need to kind of have our life first and foremost be reflective of our relationship with Jesus Christ. Everything that we do will be infused with it. And we're not trying to alienate anyone. We're just trying to tell good stories from our Christian worldview. And I see in the chat, Rudzi, I mean, I see it. You're saying you're not proud to say that you're not a Christian. We're not trying to alienate anybody. Whether you're Christian or not. I mean, it's as long as you like the story, that's all we care about, because that's the beginning of a relationship that we can have that can stretch over a long period of time, hopefully through our stories.
No, absolutely, and I think that's it. It's like there's nothing wrong with creating stories that are for Christians. There's nothing wrong with creating movies and books and comics that are specifically for a Christian market and a Christian audience. There's always going to be people like that, like even where we stand on Twitch here, it's like I've always kind of stood on the fact that we never shy away from proclaiming Jesus Christ as Lord. Mm-hmm. We've never shied away from it. We've never done that. But at the same time, there are literal Twitch streamers out there who are Christian who do church on Twitch and who do Bible studies on Twitch and who do that. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad that opportunity is out there on Twitch, but that's not specifically what we set out to do. We set out to share the love of Jesus in a completely different way and creating a place for everyone to come. Like if you walk in a Comics in the Cross, you're welcome. You're part of being here, and that falls into all other sorts of media. Like there's nothing wrong with creating stuff that's more the Christian based, but there's also this audience of non-Christians out there who can still enjoy this and still be brought in with this stuff and still.
Everyone has the opportunity and the right to believe what they want to believe, but they also have the right to either kind of read our stuff or read something else. We're not ashamed of telling our stories the way we're going to tell it from the Christian worldview, but we're not condemning anyone either. And I see Jacob in the chat. Jacob asks, is it fair for non-Christians to be punished if they genuinely don't believe in Christianity, as it's not their choice what to believe is true? No, I don't think it's fair to punish anyone for their belief. I mean, you are free to believe what you want to believe, and I will respect you for that 100%. And we can connect as fans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Yep. Just like I connect with my twin brother, we connect as fans. We love Marvel. We love some DC. Mm-hmm. Yes, we agree on certain things. I wrote an article recently where it posted in the Christian Post about the death of the superhero and the fact that there's kind of like this slide into moral relativism, and I got a lot of backlash on that, especially from a lot of Christians, believe it or not. But it's an opinion. Everyone has the right to believe what they want to believe, but you also have the right to either stay and enjoy the book or go read something else, and that's your right.
Yeah, I see Hootsy's comment here. Yeah, definitely bringing passion to the biblical stories. That's what we're trying to do. Taking stuff that's been told many times and bringing new life and new creativity. And really, Dominion isn't really an adaptation or a translation, of the Bible story. It's really kind of loosely inspired by it. So basically, we're taking these like timeless anchors of the story of Saul and David and Goliath and all those awesome moments. And you'll see us come back to those, but we're also expanding the story and really taking a lot of creative license there to be able to develop the characters and kind of weave in, biblical principles, just kind of truth that we can infuse this into the story and kind of expound on a bit more than the Bible pauses to do. So we're taking our time, we're going all this time so far. The first 3 chapters and chapter 4 is on its way. And all of that's really only covering just, what is it? A couple chapters of the, of the biblical page, as we're kind of, just expanding that story out. And we're going to, take that freedom and the liberty to be able to be creative. And so like the world that Baron has developed and, designed with all the spaceships and planets and all of this stuff, and the way that we're, adapting and kind of playing off of the biblical narrative, both are being done with that in mind, to be able to take that freedom, that creativity, and breathe new life into it. So
it's the beginning of a conversation.
Right.
It really is the beginning of a conversation. It opens the door for everybody
Yeah,
anybody can come in. We start with fans. We're all fans, so let's enjoy. Let's have fun.
As a fan of Dominion, like I'm a fan of the comic. I've read the first 3 issues of it. I absolutely adore it. I'm going to be picking up the trade. Absolutely love it. Speaking to it as someone who grew up in the church, who's been in the church his whole life, one of the biggest struggles I had as a Christian in connecting with the Bible was, especially with the Old Testament stories, was I connect a lot when I watch movies, when I read comics, when I read books, whatever, is I'm very a people person. I connect with people, I connect with their stories. I'm very feeling of what they're going through, and it helps me relate to them. A lot of the Old Testament stories were very much a case of here's what happened, but you don't always get that emotional connection.
Yeah.
The amazing thing that something like Dominion does is where it opens up an opportunity, which as a lot of it, conjecture is a lot of it a case of well, this might not have happened, it might have happened. Yeah, absolutely. But you're developing characters who don't really have that background. Like Saul's daughter, Michael, does not have a personality or a character in the Bible itself. She's not that prominent a character. But yet in something like Dominion, you can flesh her out and get me invested in this family. And and I think as Christians, we can be scared of that sometimes.
Well, yeah,
we don't like taking liberty with the biblical text, and I'm like,
but you know what? But Cross, the thing is, we made a decision. Daniel, myself, Mark, all of the Terminus team, we made a decision that we want to be unashamedly Christian, faith and family based. However, we wanted to tell good, solid stories that bring people in.
Absolutely,
you know what I'm saying? And so it's sometimes we will take artistic license to develop our characters, especially the female characters who the biblical text would kind of equate to a possession of some sort, or lesser than in the eyes of the male patriarchy. And this is a different type of a telling of that story. Not that we're erasing history, because of course that did happen. However, we have the ability now, in hindsight, to say, okay, well, why don't we kind of give these characters much more gravitas in the way we tell these stories? However, we're still meeting the plot points of the biblical narrative. That's why we're able to have a study guide that can point you directly back to 1 Samuel chapter 15 or whatever. And so, but we can also bring in our little girls and say, you know what, you can be powerful. You can be, the Lord loves you just as much as he loves me. And you can be strong. And here's a good story and a good character role model that you can look up to. I love Daniel's little girls. They love the characters, and it's awesome.
Absolutely.
My littlest says she wants to have a Dominion birthday party.
That's awesome.
That's what we need right there.
Yeah.
We need something like that.
100%.
So that's something that I feel like the Christian media really hasn't gone into that yet, into the realm of sci-fi in any kind of large way. Somebody was just asking about that the other day on a forum. They were asking, is Christian and sci-fi, do they not, are they not compatible or something? Why is that not happening? And somebody pointed out Lewis's space trilogy, which is great, and then everybody kind of sat around scratching their heads for the next one on the list, and so Dominion definitely is that. Can't we have a Star Wars? Can we not have our own version of these kind of awesome stories like this?
C.S. Lewis is Out of the Silent Planet, one of my favorite books of all time.
Amazing, right?
He's one of my inspirations. Lewis is one of my inspirations. Lewis had a way of communicating truth through these narratives that it far exceeded his time. I mean, he was prescient in so many different ways during that period of time, which was absolutely timeless, and it's amazing. It makes those stories, it gives you the capability to still see something relevant in a C.S. Lewis story, even years later.
something that we can learn from Lewis too is that you can tell these truths in any place, in any story. You go to Narnia, or if anybody read Till We Have Faces, amazing, different worlds, as well as the space trilogy, and so definitely we can do it. We can do it in space. We can do it with Space Lions, or diving deeper, like Samson Rise, for instance.
That's right.
That's you did the same kind of thing as we're talking about, Matt, with Samson. Kind of. It's not necessarily 100% accurate or a list of what happened, like you said, Cross, but it's more about kind of mining it for gold, I think. Isn't that how you say it, Matt? Digging deeper into what that's about. That experience of the character, that now when you go back and read Samson in the Bible, after experiencing Samson Rise, then you're going to be able to kind of read all of the pages a bit deeper because of that book. You might read them all in Samson Rise style, right? And be like, that's connected.
You know what, Matt, I wanted to compliment you guys on Samson, because the one thing that I really see in that is there's so many ways that people can relate even now to this age-old story of Samson and his failings. And even like if we reached out to like someone who is actually really in prison, on lockdown, being able to read a story like that, I would love to see this go to like prison ministry or something, so that using it as kind of like an evangelical tool. It's just amazing to see, all of us on this panel are making use of God's talents to be a blessing to this world in so many different ways.
You know what else too, Barry? It just occurred to me, the comparisons, the parallels between Samson Rise and My Last Day. Matt, you've seen the short film, both starting in the prison, and the reflection back, remembering it. It just occurred to me while we were talking here today that those are very similar in the way that they're kind of going into a known biblical story, but then just going completely in a new direction as far as like what that emotional experience was for that character. And it just makes it resonate so well.
And by the way, David Sager, yes, C.S. Lewis was and still is the man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But yes, I'm kind of wanting to start winding this down now, because we're already like way over time at this point.
We've been having too much fun here.
That's been awesome.
It's now going to be a 4-hour show, guys. We're not leaving quite yet. But like, I want to just throw it out there, like, for any of the creators that are here, for any of the opportunities, if there's anything that you want to say to our audience that's watching, anything about your creative works, anything about faith, anything about upcoming projects, I'd love to open the floor up just one last time for each of you. If you've got anything you want to share, this is the chance to share it. And then we're going to do our last 2 giveaways and wrap out for this.
I'd like to say I'm doing a lot of mentoring, you might say, nowadays. And I have yesterday a young filmmaker I met with, and his dad, and he's 16 years old and he wants to make movies. And I spoke to him a few months ago on Zoom, and I think a lot of us have had the same experience in life, but I meet a lot of young people who want to get into the kind of work we're all doing. And, they ask a lot of questions about how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? How did you become a film director? People ask me, and it's like, well, when I made a movie when I was 10 years old, and I sort of decided that's what I was. You know what I mean? I didn't ask permission from anybody. So don't seek permission to do your thing. Don't seek permission to be a comic artist. Don't seek permission to be a filmmaker. Don't seek permission to be a writer. If you write, you're a writer. And just keep doing it and keep getting better and hone your craft and learn your thing. But don't wait for permission. You don't need anything other than what God's already given you. A lot of gifts. Every one of us, whether we acknowledge Him or not, we have abilities and we have desires in our hearts. And the reason the desires are in our hearts is because we're meant to pursue those things in our lives. And just don't wait for someone to say it's okay. It is okay. Go for it.
Yep.
Yoda has spoken.
And we're done.
I'm going to say, it's like,
mic drop.
I'm
going to say, I can't top that.
I'm signing my name underneath Barry's statement there.
Like that's
I
feel
come across
awkward
this
even.
time and time and time again. I mean, for the last 40 years, a lot of people ask me that, just that kind of question, all the time. How do I write? How do I become a screenwriter? How do I become a director? You start doing those things, and you are that thing you want to be. You can be that.
Beautiful.
Simple.
Awesome.
Can I follow that up?
Yeah.
That sort of
Very
fits
brave
into
of you.
what
Go for it,
I wanted
Matt.
to say. Well, because I just wanted to say how much of an honor it's been just being on this panel with you guys. And when I found out who was going to be on the panel, I was actually quite intimidated and kind of just went, and so why do you want me on there? And like, and I just look up to all you guys, and I'm quite often one of those people that do let my self-doubt get in the way of trying or going for the goal, like just letting my fear of failure get in the way of that. So I just guess my little bit I want to say is that for those people out there that are a bit like me, that do have a lot of self-doubt, and like Barry was saying, just kind of go, how do I be a writer, or how do I be an artist, or whatever like that. It's great to look at other people's work and see how awesome they are, and be inspired by that. But it can also be intimidating, just like seeing their volume of work or what they've achieved or how they've succeeded, and just kind of go, I'll never be there. But just if you've got a passion for it, just do it. Enjoy it. Be inspired by people that are better than you, but don't get down on yourself if you feel like you're never going to achieve that level or that greatness or whatever. Just do it for the love. God's put a passion in you to create, and you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't enjoy that process and just keep doing what you love. So that's
can I bounce off of that? Can I bounce off of that a little bit, Matt? I tell people too, it's like the first films I made, the budgets were $8. The roll of film was $4 and processing was $4. But I didn't have any more fun as a creator making an $80 million film. That creative experience in the moment, doing that thing, making the film, it never got better with bigger films. And the joy of doing it never got better with recognition. It was always, I love the doing of it. I love the making of it. I think that most of us as artists, it's where we come from. We love drawing, we love writing, we love writing a song or whatever it is. And that if you've got that inside of you, it's not going to necessarily get better with success. That feeling of just that creative moment that you're in making something. It doesn't. It's not really that scalable. The feeling isn't. You get it as a kid drawing. Learning how to draw Fred Flintstone was exciting.
It reminds me of something I said to you the other day, Baron. We were talking, and I said, "There's no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow." It doesn't work like that. It's the actual experience of doing the projects, that you learn to love that wherever it is, wherever you are in the process, so it's like not stressing out too much, not striving, too much, or the self-doubt, Matt, that you're talking about, or beating yourself up or whatever, just enjoying it because it's what you love to do, and so, it's not destination, the journey, that kind of a thing.
That's right.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely.
That's it, man.
Just one thing, basically for us at Terminus, we do have our Dominion Volume 1 officially going to be dropped on December the 15th. Beautiful little book here. And so excited about that. So that's going to be coming. We can do pre-orders now at terminusmedia.com. We also have a Indiegogo that's up as well. Cross can put that in the chat.
Yeah, I'll put it.
And also one new venture that we're going into is we're doing a Bible study called the Dominion Graphic Novel Bible Study Season 1. Episode 1 is December the 5th from 4 p.m. It's about 30 minutes in length, I think. So terminusmedia.com/learn. You can sign up for that. The cool thing about it is it's going to be conducted by we have a Christian influencer. Her name is Davina. She does these awesome videos about things that you can say besides cuss words that have garnered, I mean, like millions of views. She has about almost a half a million, quarter million followers. And she's a great spirit, wonderful girl. And she's going to be leading our Bible studies on Zoom and TikTok. And so you can go to our website and sign up for that today, right now, if you wanted to. So that's going to be really cool. And then, of course, we have another event coming up December, I believe it's the 12th, right, Cross?
Yeah, December 12th.
Christmas, Christian Comics and Animation. We got some great guys coming up. We have, can you put that back up?
Yeah, sorry, it's a really short one. It's going to keep.
Yeah, no, it's Al Nickerson from Sword of Eden. We got Luis Serrano. He's with the Christian Comics Art Society, but he does a really great book. It's also a little Samson book. Samson's a popular character these days. We got Brandon Hollingsworth and his partner Michael from Brainy Pixel, and they do a fantastic 3D animated show called Cubekins. Barry, I'm not sure if you know those guys.
I know those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, they're amazing guys, and their work is great. Dove approved. So if
for young kids, it's
nice, family friendly, amazing work, and they're getting into comics as well. So they're doing some really good big stuff. So that'll be a great conversation to have. And then of course we're bringing Davina on, and we're going to be talking about her TikTok, phenomena, and then of course the Dominion Bible study and all that. So it's going to be a really great event coming up on the 12th of December.
And if you order the Dominion trade today's the last day that we can guarantee for sure you'll get it by Christmas. So put those orders in now, and we'll make sure you get it one way or another. Even if I have to drive it there myself, we'll do it. It's a promise.
That include Australia, Daniel?
I got one of the Incredibles
Daniel's
cars.
guaranteed it now, Matt, so it has to make it to Australia by Christmas.
We'll need some transporter technology.
Yeah, the word guarantee was used.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
all
right.
What I'm Speaking of
East Australian current, dude.
Use the rubber to erase that word.
Rudzi, we mentioned Cubekins. That was the show. Rudzi was asking the name of the show. It's Cubekins, which is I think it's on a lot of Christian streaming platforms. So, but we'll talk about that on the 12th. So please sign up today. You can sign up for that at the same events link that we had before. And yes, any questions you may have in regards to 3D animation or other comic questions, or how to become a TikTok phenomenon, whatever. So it's going to be kind of a cool show.
All right. Speaking of the Dominion, we do have one more Dominion giveaway, and we are also giving away a CD set of the audio drama End of Darkness. Daniel, do you want to tell us a little bit about End of Darkness?
Sure. Yeah, End of Darkness is Bible Actors Productions is my theater troupe, and we've worked for years together in lots of different productions, and this was our big one. So we had 50 voice actors, original score, immersive sound effects, similar to what Barry Cook and I are working on in his sense of the audio drama. You listen to it, you kind of get the movie in your mind, and so yeah, it's the full story of the life of Christ. And definitely worth checking out. And so yeah, we've got a copy. It comes as a limited edition 3-disc set. We have just a few of those left, and so this will be a signed copy of that. But it's also available on Audible, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, everywhere. So you can go ahead and grab it there, download it instantly. So definitely check it out. Share it with your family, friends. You can get it at BibleActors.com, but we're actually have a special going at TerminusMedia.com/End of Darkness. So,
all right. So we're going to do our first drawing is going to be for the End of Darkness CDs, and then the next one is going to be for Dominion Volume 1 signed, guaranteed by Christmas by Daniel.
So, here we go. That's
the wrong page. Hold that up.
Let's see if I can do that.
All right, so here we go. Stacey Bradshaw.
Nice.
Stacey Bradshaw is actually our double winner. She won one of the packages from Mitch earlier.
Wow.
This one I will not be redrawing because it is for a different item.
Stacey's. I need someone what Stacey has.
I know. All right, and one more drawing. The Minion Volume 1. Who's getting the last signed copy? Avery Easter.
Yay.
Nice.
Hey, Avery.
So I think we have everyone's email addresses that signed up for the giveaway. So I'm guessing we should be reaching out to you fairly soon about getting those sent out to you and details for that. So thank you for everyone that took part in the giveaways. Thank you for all the amazing creators that gave for the giveaways. It's absolutely phenomenal. And again, a massive thank you to everyone who came on, who's been part of the show, to all our amazing guests who are no longer here, that have had to head off. But also a massive thank you to Barry Cook, to Matt Baker, to Sergio Cariello, to Dr. Baron Bell, and to Daniel Hancock, who are still with us here. And
absolutely
for being here to be part of this, and honestly for the blessing of having us be here. Like I totally related when Matt was saying that, like that. Why am I on this panel? Like I literally have asked that question non-stop.
Cross and I have asked each other that multiple times.
Like, why are we hosting this? Why in the world are we hosting this?
No, seriously, guys, we can't thank you enough. This was awesome. It was great working with you.
Done a great job.
Thank you so much, But we honestly greatly appreciate y'all coming here, and for the opportunity that Dr. Bills gave us, he gave us a chance for us to plug ourselves as well. So I'm going to take a short opportunity to do that, which is going against every fiber of my being, because I'm like, I just shut up. It's not about you. Shut up. And I'm like, no, I've been allowed to do it. So I'm going to post our links, which I feel really bad because we've got like 1 million links to throw up. If anyone who does not know who we are, missed us at the start, my name is Cross. My partner down there, Nitro. We are the dynamic duo of Twitch, comics, and the Cross, the greatest streamers you have never heard of. We do a weekly video podcast over on Twitch, which you can also find the audio versions wherever you get your podcast, talking about comics, movies, TV shows, and everything geeky. As well as that, we also do live streams on Twitch where I do gaming. My wife actually does a bit of gaming on there now as well, Jay, and Nitro does some gaming and artwork live on stream also. I'm actually going to play a little video just to show a little bit about who we are. Just thank you for the opportunity to even share this. Give me one moment. I'm going to throw that up and we'll be right back. But yeah, and that's a little bit of who we are. And anyone who wants to follow us on our social medias, join us on Discord, or follow us over on our main channel, twitch.tv/comics and the Cross, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for the support. And again, just thank you so much for this opportunity. This has been amazing.
This has been awesome. Thank you.
I'm so hyped for next month already. And December 12th, we will be back with a brand new set of guests that we cannot wait to sit down and talk with. We hope that you will join us, whether it's via Terminus Media's Facebook, YouTube, or via us on Twitch. But thank you so much for everyone. And thank you for everyone who stuck with us, especially for like 40 minutes overtime at this point. This became like an extra hour show. But everyone have an absolutely amazing day. Take care. And remember, it is a good week to be a geek. And we will see you all next month. See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.